Chapter 62. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more interesting content. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. The two of them were so close that her breath fell on his ear. He could clearly feel the tip of his ear burning. No, he denied it and did not turn to look at her. However, Gu Jiao kept looking at him. The tips of his ears and cheeks were hot, and the slender and slightly red neck under his black hair was extremely youthful and beautiful. I don't care. I heard you. After that, Gu Jiao went out with satisfaction. She was getting more and more familiar with flirting with her little husband. Xiao Lulang looked at the sachet in his hand. The uneasiness in his heart was dispelled. He held the sachet and slept soundly. When he got up, he caught a glimpse of a little foot on his chest. Little Jing Kong was sprawled on his back and slept in an arrogant manner. Xiao Lulang moved his little foot away. After a moment of silence, he took out the sachet that Gu Jiao gave him and put it on the most conspicuous spot on his pillow. Then, he went to copy the book under the light. Little Jing Kong woke up and saw the sachet on his pillow. He rubbed his big eyes and asked in confusion, "Oh, what's this?" Xiao Lulang said casually while copying the book, "A sachet." Little Jing Kong had never seen a sachet before. He looked at it over and over again. "Who made it? It's so beautiful." "Your sister made it," Xiao Lulang said. "Is it for me?" Little Jing Kong grabbed the sachet and quickly got up. He then jumped up and down excitedly on the bed. Xiao Lulang glanced at him without changing his expression. "You're thinking too much. It's for me." Little Jing Kong suddenly stopped jumping. Little Jing Kong didn't believe it, so he took the sachet to Gu Jiao, who was cooking breakfast in the kitchen, to ask for confirmation. What else could Gu Jiao say? Of course, she admitted it. Little Jing Kong looked aggrieved. He was not an insatiable child. It was just a child's nature. He did not understand why his bad brother-in-law had it, but he did not. Gu Jiao found her aggrieved expression adorable again. Gu Jiao had never raised a child before, so she did not consider that this matter might cause a psychological impact on him. The main reason was that she did not know that Xiao Lulang would be so childish as to show off the sachet to little Jing Kong. Gu Jiao explained the whole story of the sachet to little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong was a very sensible child. He was no longer sad after knowing the meaning of the sachet. He valiantly returned to the house and generously returned the sachet to Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang narrowed his eyes and looked at him. "You're not angry anymore?" Little Jing Kong raised his chin and looked at him pitifully. "I didn't know that your results were so bad. You should be rewarded for getting first place. I'm used to getting first place in the temple all the time. I don't need a reward anymore." Xiao Lulang was speechless. Today, he wanted to throw the little monk out again. After a while, Gu Xiaoshun came to the house for breakfast and got to know the new member of the family, Little Jing Kong. Little Jing Kong then realized that there were not only two men in the family. Gu Xiaoshun was also a man in the family. He just didn't live at home. Compared to Xiao Lulang, who could always set traps for Little Jing Kong, Gu Xiaoshun's fighting ability was not enough to arouse Little Jing Kong's vigilance. Little Jing Kong happily became good brothers with him. After the two of them went to school, Gu Jiao was also preparing to go to town. After the old lady came here, she asked Xuan Ningxiang to make her winter clothes. At that time, Xuan Ningxiang was not busy, but Xuan Ningxiang would be busy with farming after spring and would have no time to do needlework. Gu Jiao planned to go to town to buy a few sets of ready-made clothes for the old lady. Little Jing Kong also needed to buy clothes. He was abandoned in the temple when he was 6 months old and never went down the mountain. His bag was full of monk clothes. Hearing that Gu Jiao was going to town, Little Jing Kong's eyes immediately lit up. "Can I go? Can I go?" If it was just to buy clothes, Gu Jiao would definitely take him there. However, Gu Jiao had other things to do. Gu Jiao patted his little bald head. "I'll take you there next time." Gu Jiao could see that Little Jing Kong still wanted to go, but he didn't throw a tantrum and obediently stayed. This child was quite easy to deal with. Gu Jiao carried the small basket back to town. She was not going to practice medicine. She just had the habit of carrying the small medicine box with her. After all, the small medicine box was too big a secret, so she felt relieved to carry it with her. Secondly, she might really need the medicine inside later. Gu Jiao went to the street full of gambling houses, brothels, and martial arts arenas. 2 hours later, Gu Jiao rubbed her right wrist and came out refreshed. She had sweated a lot and took off her cotton-padded clothes. She was only wearing a thin jacket. "I haven't been here for a few days, so I'm a lot rusty." She sighed and turned around, planning to go to the shop in the east of town to buy clothes for the old lady and little Jing Kong. However, she felt that something was wrong after taking a few steps. Someone was following her. Gu Jiao coldly raised the corner of her mouth. She was not surprised that someone was following her. "Well, I haven't fought enough, so I can practice a few more." When she was about to leave the alley, Gu Jiao slowly stopped. The group of people who were chasing after him also stopped and looked at her with vigilance. Gu Jiao slowly turned around and looked at them coldly. "The 8 of you, come at me together." The leader of the strong men narrowed his eyes coldly. "How arrogant. Girl, do you know who we are?" Gu Jiao looked at him unscrupulously. "I don't care who you are. If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't want to fight, then get lost." The leader of the strong men sneered. "Girl, the Blackwater Alley is not a place you should be. I'll give you a chance to beg for mercy. As long as you break your right arm and promise not to disturb our business, I'll spare your life." Gu Jiao's patience was not for these people. She had said what she wanted to say, but they were still nagging. This was very annoying. Gu Jiao quickly ran over to the other side. With one foot on the wall, she used the other to kick the leader's face. The leader did not even have time to react before he was sent flying. Big brother. They were all dumbfounded. Gu Jiao did not give them a chance to react. She used her palm as a knife, and in the blink of an eye, 3 of them fainted. Half of the people were gone. The remaining 4 pounced towards Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao grabbed the first 2, swung them up, and smashed them onto the bodies of the other 2. The 4 of them spat out blood from being smashed. They held their chests and wondered if this was real. Gu Jiao clapped her hands and turned to leave. However, a black shadow passed over her head. There was more? Moreover, it was someone who knew Qinggong. They were thinking too highly of her. Gu Jiao grabbed a wooden stick from the ground and climbed up the wall in a few steps, smashing the black-clothed man down with a bang. The black-clothed man was stunned when he fell down. "Girl, do you have a grudge against me?" Gu Jiao. "Heh, there's no use pretending." Black-clothed man. "No, I really don't know you." Gu Jiao smashed him unconscious with the stick. Black-clothed man. After Gu Jiao beat him up, she discovered that there was another one nearby. However, that person was very vigilant. The moment Gu Jiao noticed him, he disappeared into the crowd. "Quick, the assassin is over there." Following a loud shout from outside the alley, a few strong and powerful guards rushed over. They looked at the unconscious assassin and then looked at the ruffians on the ground. They did not understand what had just happened. Could it be that this assassin had a conflict with the ruffians in town and both sides were injured? But this assassin was an expert. How could he not even be able to defeat a few ruffians? "Girl, did they hurt you?" one of the guards asked Gu Jiao. "No." Gu Jiao shook her head. She felt that the clothes of the guards were somewhat familiar, as if she had seen them somewhere before. Just as she was thinking, a carriage stopped at the entrance of the alley. The curtains of the carriage were slowly pulled open by a pale hand. A weak young man's handsome face appeared. Gu Jiao's eyes lit up. Sick. Digression. Little brother came to find Jiao Jiao. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhhbqg com/89642_89642826/70030547. HTML Genius, memorize this website's address. www.zhhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 63. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. Gu Yan saw Gu Jiao's eyes and knew that she still remembered him. His 10,000-year-old world-weary handsome face had a trace of a happy smile. Gu Jiao saw his smile, and her mood also improved. She was about to go forward and greet him when she saw his jade-like index finger on his lips. Gu Jiao instantly understood and lowered her eyes to pretend that she didn't see anything. Although these guards were also people from the hot spring villa, they had never seen Gu Jiao before, so they didn't recognize Gu Jiao's identity. But seeing that Gu Jiao was fine, they continued to look for her. After making sure that they were far away, Gu Jiao came to the front of the carriage. This was a civilian carriage, and it was very simple. No wonder it could be hidden from everyone. The guards would never have thought that the noble Marquis Fu's young master would be in a carriage like this. The driver was also from the town and had been given enough money, so he wouldn't speak carelessly. Gu Jiao opened the curtains and looked at the delicate and petite youth in front of her. She asked, "Why did you come here? You even threw off your own guards?" "I came to find you," Gu Yan honestly said. "Find me? Are you not feeling well?" Gu Jiao unconsciously reached her hand through the window to take his pulse. When she grabbed his wrist, she remembered that she was only a little medicine boy in the Marquis Fu. She calmly took back her hand. Gu Yan's pale face revealed a faint smile. "I know it's you." "Ah, how did he know? Where did she give herself away?" Gu Jiao scratched her little head. Gu Yan was amused by her confused appearance. "No one else knows. Come up." Her secret was getting more and more out of hand. First it was the old grandfather, then it was the second boss and the old doctor, and now it was this young master of the Marquis' estate. Gu Jiao still decided to lie. "It wasn't me who treated you. It was Dr. Li from Huichun Hall. I'm just his little medicine boy." Gu Yan smiled and said, "Okay, little medicine boy, are you coming up? If I don't come up, they'll discover me." Gu Jiao thought about it for a while and finally got into the car. She sat down beside Gu Yan. Even Gu Jiao felt that this carriage was too shabby to sit in. It was really hard on this young master of the Marquis' residence. Gu Yan did not feel wronged at all. As long as he could see her, he could sit anywhere. Gu Yan smiled and stretched out his bone-white wrist. "Little medicine boy, do you want to check my pulse?" Gu Jiao's expression did not change. "It's not guaranteed." Gu Yan smiled and nodded. "Yes." Gu Jiao checked his pulse. It was much more stable than last time. Then she opened the small medicine box and took out the stethoscope. "What is this?" Gu Yan asked curiously. "Stethoscope, take off your clothes." Dr. Gu said coldly. Gu Yan was stunned. Gu Jiao unbuttoned his clothes and put the stethoscope in. There was still arrhythmia and noise. The anti-heart failure medicine was effective for him, but it was not that effective. "Is it very uncomfortable?" Gu Jiao took back the stethoscope. Gu Yan lowered his head and closed his clothes with his slender and pale fingers. "It's not uncomfortable. Really, it's much better than before." He had spent so many years suffering from heart disease. He had never experienced the comfort of a normal person. As long as it was less uncomfortable, it would be better for him. "You suffered because of the thumb ring," Gu Yan suddenly said. Gu Jiao was stunned for a moment. She would have forgotten if he did not mention it. In fact, it was not a big deal. It was an unimportant person. If she misunderstood, then so be it. "I took your thumb ring first. I should apologize to you." Gu Yan hated that she was so distant with him. "I don't want your apology." Gu Jiao smiled and did not continue the topic. "Why did you shake off the bodyguards? They are annoying." Gu Yan said. Gu Jiao lifted the curtain and looked at the man in black on the ground. But you will encounter assassins. Gu Yan smiled and said, he is not an assassin. He is my secret guard. He led them away. Gu Jiao blinked innocently. Then he is really unlucky. He was injured by a few ruffians. Not far away, another secret guard spat out a mouthful of old blood. Miss, is it really okay to lie through your teeth? Yes. Gu Yan smiled. He was injured by a ruffian. Don't worry about him. Let him fend for himself. That was not necessary. Gu Jiao cleared her throat. You have more than one secret guard, right? Gu Yan's smile did not fade. There are two. It seemed that the one who ran away was his secret guard. Fortunately, she did not chase after him. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if she made him faint. Gu Jiao's face was full of embarrassment. What is your name? Gu Yan asked. Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao said. Gu Yan was surprised. Your surname is also Gu Yan. My name is Gu Yan. We were family 500 years ago. Gu Jiao was amused. You are a dignified young master of the Marquis family. You are lowering yourself to be related to a small village girl. Aren't you afraid that the Marquis and Madam will beat you if they find out? Are you hungry? Gu Yan asked. Gu Jiao woke up early and walked all the way. Now, she was really hungry. The western part of the town was not as prosperous as the eastern part of the town. There were not many good restaurants. After a long time, they found a small restaurant that was passable. Have you been to this kind of place before? Gu Jiao asked as she got off the carriage. No, Gu Yan said honestly. As a little seedling that would fall when the wind blew, the Marquis family had raised him in the palm of their hands. How could they allow him to come to this kind of place? Of course, he did not have much interest in it. First, he did not have the energy to do it. Second, he was tired of the world and was too lazy to do it. But it was different now. He did not feel that bad. Also, he wanted to see her. The two found a secluded corner and sat down. Gu Yan's appearance, temperament, and clothes were destined to attract a lot of attention. He hated being stared at, but if it was with her, he did not mind. The waiter had never seen such a noble young master. He even forgot to greet him. Gu Yan ordered a table full of good dishes. Gu Jiao frowned. Can you eat? There was rock sugar pork shoulder, braised meatballs, and steamed preserved vegetables. With his illness, he had to avoid eating. Gu Yan looked at her with his chin in his hand. Help me eat. Gu Jiao wanted to be reserved, but he ordered all her favorite dishes. In fact, Gu Yan had always wanted to eat these dishes, but the imperial doctor did not let him eat them. In the end, Gu Jiao ate all the fish and meat. Gu Yan could only eat porridge at the side. However, watching her eat, it was as if he was also eating. That kind of satisfaction was something he had never felt before. After eating, Gu Yan went to pay the bill. Gu Jiao looked at the small medicine box again. Sure enough, there was medicine for heart failure again. Gu Jiao removed the original packaging. Like last time, the medicine was placed in several different small porcelain bottles. The bottle's instructions and dosage were written in cinnabar. When Gu Yan came over, Gu Jiao had just handed him the medicine. You're almost done with your medicine, right? Gu Yan looked at the medicine in her hand and fell into deep thought. Gu Jiao continued. Dr. Li gave it to me. Gu Yan. Oh. Gu Jiao continued. It's okay to take your medicine on time and go out to relax, but don't leave the Imperial Guards behind. Especially your secret guard's ability is not very good. He can be beaten down with a stick. Gu Jiao said with a serious expression. Suddenly, she caught a glimpse of him looking at her with a smile. Her heart skipped a beat, and she said seriously, I didn't hit him. I didn't. I don't hit people. She had exposed herself. Gu Yan laughed in his heart. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhpqg.com/89642_89642_699996900. HTML Genius, memorize the website's address. www.zhpqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhpqg.com. Chapter 64. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Guyen didn't stay in the small restaurant for too long because the guards of the Marquis's mansion came. Guyen didn't let them disturb Gu Jiao and said goodbye to Gu Jiao in a soft voice. Looking at his receding figure and thinking of his modest and polite appearance, Gu Jiao's little heart couldn't bear it any longer. He had the looks, the family background, and was so gentle and polite. He was such a perfect little sweetheart. Why did God want to torture him? The modest and polite little sweetheart. As soon as he got into the carriage of the Marquis's mansion, his smile disappeared and his hostility was fully revealed. His eyes were cold, and he was a completely different person in front of Gu Jiao. The man in black, who was stunned by Gu Jiao's stick, had already returned to Guyan's side with his companion. The two tried to reduce their presence and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. They had seen how shameless the young master could be. How could he be so good at pretending? If you have the ability, you can also pretend to be a little sweetheart in front of the Marquis and Master Ho. Who was that annoying person who was so irritable all day? Strictly speaking, they were negligent today, but the young master didn't even say a word of punishment. They could see that he was in a good mood. If that was the case, would it be time to tell him the news? Why aren't you leaving? What's the matter? Guyen asked with disdain. The two exchanged glances, and finally the man in black who was stunned by the stick said, "Master Ho is on his way." Guyan's aura suddenly became cold. After a while, he reached out his hand, painting. The two tacitly handed over an antique painting that Master Ho had treasured. Guyen grabbed it and tore it up. On the other side, Gu Jiao was also about to leave. Today's dishes were very delicious. Gu Jiao bought a bowl of stewed pork knuckle with rock sugar and a bowl of braised meatballs with soy sauce. She paid a deposit of 50 copper coins and went to the shop to get 2 jars. She planned to bring them back to her family. But just as she walked out of the small restaurant with a jar in her arms, a horse galloped past. The rider waved a whip in his hand and rudely drove away the crowd on the street. In order to avoid his whip, one of the aunties staggered forward and bumped into Gu Jiao's jar. Gu Jiao's jar fell to the ground and smashed into pieces. The soup and pork knuckle meatballs spilled all over the floor. Soon, another woman stepped on it in a panic. Out! The auntie's feet slipped and she almost fell. Gu Jiao reached out and pulled her to the side. After the auntie realized what was going on, she hurriedly apologized to Gu Jiao. "I'm sorry, Mississippi. I didn't mean to. Every injustice had its perpetrator, and every debt its debtor. She wasn't to blame for this. If anyone was to blame, it should be the man who rode the horse on the street." The man turned a deaf ear to the chaos he caused. He didn't even look at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao narrowed her eyes. When he waved the whip again and brushed past her, Gu Jiao grabbed his whip. Then, without giving the other party a chance to negotiate, she unceremoniously pulled him down from the carriage. The man fell heavily to the ground, and the horse left his hand, galloping away and disappearing. He was a martial artist. This fall wasn't a big deal. He only suffered some minor injuries. But he was very angry. Who was so bold to pull him down from the horse on the street? He suddenly rushed towards Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao took the whip in her hand and lashed at him, sending him flying. He crashed into the carriage behind. The carriage shook violently. The young girl in the carriage lost her balance, and her head hit the wall of the carriage. She cried out in pain. At this moment, the carriage was forced to stop. The man who was sent flying by Gu Jiao crawled up from the ground in fear and knelt by the side of the carriage. He cupped his hands and said, "Your subordinate is guilty. Please punish me, Marquis." Gu Jiao frowned strangely. Marquis? In the carriage, Marquis Gu supported his daughter, who had hit her head. He asked worriedly, "Jinyu, how are you? Are you all right?" Gu Jinyu's forehead was red. This wasn't even a small injury. When Gu Jiao stretched out her hand, any old or new injury would be more serious than this. But who asked Gu Jinyu to be pampered and spoiled? She had never suffered the slightest bit. Never suffered the slightest bit. Gu Jinyu held her forehead and looked at Marquis Gu aggrievedly. Tears welled up in her eyes. "It hurts. Let father take a look." Marquis Gu took Gu Jinyu's hand away. When he saw her red forehead, anger rose in his heart. He lifted the curtain and looked coldly at the guard kneeling on the ground. What happened? The guard pointed at Gu Jiao and said, "This subordinate was leading the way. Who would have thought that she would snatch this subordinate's whip and pull this subordinate down from the horse? She used the whip to whip this subordinate. This subordinate bumped into the Marquis's carriage." When the surrounding people heard the Marquis's name, their legs turned to jelly and they all knelt on the ground. Only Gu Jiao stood there stubbornly and proudly. Marquis Gu's gaze landed coldly on Gu Jiao's face. It was a face that no one wanted to take a second look at. Her eyes were cold and her blood-red birthmark made her skin look unusually fair. There was a hint of unruliness in her coquettish looks. Her gaze was cold and sharp. When she met Marquis Gu's gaze, she did not avoid it at all. She was dressed like a villager from the countryside. She was about the same age as Jinyu, but she had such a terrifying gaze. Marquis Gu said coldly, "You have guts." Whether it was beating up his guard on the streets or not kneeling to him, she was too audacious. Gu Jiao did not cower because of his reprimand. She held the whip and walked forward. The guard stood up and pulled out the sword at his waist to stop her. Gu Jiao did not even lift her eyelids. With one whip, she slapped his sword back into the scabbard. Everyone was stunned. Marquis Gu was also stunned. Gu Jiao came to the side of the carriage. Everyone crowded around her, but her expression did not change. She stretched out her hand to Marquis Gu. Marquis Gu frowned. "What are you doing?" Gu Jiao said mildly, "The jar is 50 copper coins, the rock sugar pork knuckle is 60 copper coins, the braised lion's head is 40 copper coins. I also want the shop to make another set. The compensation for the delay is 100 copper coins. The total is 250. Marquis Gu. He felt that he had been scolded. Marquis Gu looked at the mess on the ground, then looked at the guard who caused the trouble. The guard lowered his head guiltily. Marquis Gu understood everything. Marquis Gu snorted coldly. "My man is in the wrong. But little girl, aren't you too arrogant? Aren't you afraid that I will sentence you to death?" Gu Jiao looked at him, as if she was seriously considering his words. After a while she said, 249 copper coins. Marquis Gu was confused. What was going on? Gu Jinyu recognized Gu Jiao. She tugged at Marquis Gu's sleeve and shook her head slightly at him. Marquis Gu frowned and said to Gu Jiao, "My daughter has pleaded for you, so I will spare you." With that, he threw a silver ingot to Gu Jiao and lowered the curtain to let the coachman drive the carriage away. Gu Jiao said 249 copper coins, so she only asked for 249 copper coins. He had given too much. Gu Jiao broke off a small piece of the silver ingot and casually threw the rest back into his carriage. The silver ingot hit Marquis Gu's head squarely, creating a huge bruise on his head. Marquis Gu. Marquis Gu. Digression, Marquis Gu. Didn't your father teach you not to throw things around? Jiao Jiao, my father is dead. Marquis Gu Achu. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with a deeper meaning that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg com/89642_896422826/699575150. HTML Genius. Memorize the website address in a second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 65. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels with a deeper meaning that cannot be found online are all available here. Marquis Gu was unable to restrain his anger. The veins on his resolute and handsome face were throbbing. Just as he was about to get someone to capture the girl and punish her, a guard from the Marquis's residence came over on a horse. Reporting to the Marquis, something has happened to the young master. Marquis Gu could not be bothered to find trouble with Gu Jiao. He hurriedly got the guard to lead the way and rushed to the location of his son's accident. Gu Yan's carriage had overturned halfway. Although the secret guard had managed to stabilize the carriage in time and did not let it fall to the ground, it was still heavily tilted, and Gu Yan fell. Gu Yan's body was even weaker than a child's. No one in the residence had ever dared to let him touch or knock himself. Marquis Gu was extremely nervous the entire way. However, when he saw Gu Yan, he realized that Gu Yan was completely fine. Gu Yan sat on a small stool and stretched out his long legs, leisurely basking in the sun. Younger brother. Gu Jinyu lifted her skirt and alighted from the carriage. She knelt down in front of Gu Yan and held his hand. "Are you all right?" Marquis Gu walked forward with a strange expression and looked steadily at his son. "Are you feeling unwell anywhere?" Gu Yan calmly replied, "I won't die." Marquis Gu had learned from the letter that his son was much better. He had been suspicious, but now that he saw it, he realized that it was true. The carriage had overturned, and he was actually fine. This would have been impossible in the past. Marquis Gu temporarily relaxed and let his son sit in his carriage. Father and son were not on good terms. After getting on the carriage, neither of them spoke. Only Gu Jinyu spoke occasionally to break the awkward atmosphere in the carriage. There was a big bump on Marquis Gu's forehead from the silver. Gu Yan just stared straight at his big bump. Gu Jinyu thought that his younger brother was worried about his father and hurriedly explained, "Younger brother, you don't know who we met just now. It's that little medical assistant who took your jade ring. Father gave her money, but she didn't want it. Look at how she smashed father." "She smashed it?" Gu Yan's eyes widened. "Okay." Gu Jinyu nodded. Gu Yan was suddenly amused. He did not hide his gloating at all. Marquis Gu was so angry that he wanted to beat him up. If he wasn't his biological son, he would have killed him long ago. Outside, he had been angered half to death by a wild girl. Now that he had returned, his son was angered half to death. He just couldn't understand why this was happening. Did they discuss this beforehand? The carriage soon arrived at the hot spring villa. Everyone in the manor knew that the Marquis was coming. They all looked happy, as if the new year was coming again. It was no wonder that they were so excited. The Marquis worked in the capital and rarely came to the villa. Only the Marquise stayed here with the young master all year round. As for the young miss, she ran between the two places. She lived in the villa for a period of time and in the capital for a period of time. The kitchen prepared a table of dishes to welcome the Marquis Gu. It was rare for the family of 4 to gather together for a meal. After the meal, Gu Jinyu pulled his younger brother back to their rooms, leaving only the Marquis Gu in the Marquise's room. When the children were in front of them, the two were as loving as before. But once the two children left, Yao Shi's smile faded slightly. "It's late. The Marquis should rest. I will have someone prepare a room." Marquis Gu pulled her hand and gently asked in a low voice, "Are you still angry at me?" Yao Shi turned her face. "How could I dare be angry at the Marquis?" Marquis stopped joking. Marquis Gu looked at her lovingly and said in shame, "It's my fault. I shouldn't have not come to see you for so long, but I really couldn't leave. You also know the situation in the capital. The princes have all grown up, and His Majesty is in his prime. Yao Shi interrupted him. The Marquis shouldn't talk about the matters of court with a young woman like me. I don't understand. For the Marquis to suddenly come to the manor. Is there a reason? Marquis Gu wanted to speak, but stopped. Of course there was a reason. It was just that he wasn't sure if he should tell her about it so early. Marquis Gu said, without any change in expression, I found a famous doctor in the capital and brought him to treat Yan Er's illness. Yao Shi said, Yan Er's condition is much better. Marquis Gu said, I know. Jin Yu has already told me. The doctor of Rejuvenation Hall is very skilled. Yan Er's condition has improved greatly. However, they don't have the confidence to cure Yan. Alright? With more doctors looking, there is more hope. On this point, Yao Shi agreed with Marquis Gu. Marquis Gu hugged his wife from behind and gently said into her ear, I'll come over later. Leave the door open for me. Yao Shi lowered her eyes and agreed. She then opened the curtain and entered the inner room. Marquis Gu looked at his wife's distant back and sighed helplessly. Marquis Gu went to the study and called Dr. Zhuge, who had been waiting for a long time, to go to Gu Yan's room. Gu Yan was already asleep. Marquis Gu did not wake him up. After dismissing everyone, he left Dr. Zhuge in the room. The reason why Marquis Gu was so cautious was because Dr. Zhuge's identity was a bit special. He could not let others find out that he had left the capital. Even more so, he could not let others know that he had dealings with Marquis Ding En's manor. Marquis Gu coldly looked at Dr. Zhuge. Your disciple treated this Marquis's son's illness. Afterwards, he said some disgraceful words to this Marquis. This Marquis hopes that you understand that this Marquis is not someone who is easy to fool. Never try to fool this prince. This lowly one does not dare. Dr. Zhuge calmly said. Marquis Gu looked at him deeply and moved to the side of the bed. He used a silver needle to take a drop of blood from Gu Yan's finger. Afterwards, the two of them went to Gu Jinyu's room. Marquis Gu said, Jinyu, the doctor wants to take a drop of blood from your finger. Oh, is it still for younger brother this time? As early as a few months ago, a doctor had come to the villa to take a drop of blood from her finger, saying that it could be used for younger brother. Yes, it's still for medicinal purposes. Marquis Gu's expression did not change as he said. Gu Jinyu was afraid of pain, but for her younger brother, she endured it. She closed her eyes and extended her hand. Doctor, take it. Dr. Zhuge took a drop of blood from her finger. Gu Jinyu was in so much pain that her eyes brimmed with tears. Marquis Gu dotingly comforted his daughter, then went to the study to wait for news. About a quarter of an hour later, Dr. Zhuge returned with a complicated expression. How is it? Marquis Gu anxiously asked. Dr. Zhuge looked straight into Marquis Gu's eyes and said, Your son's and your daughter's blood cannot mix. They are not blood-related siblings. Even though he had mentally prepared himself, hearing these words come out of Dr. Zhuge's mouth was like a bolt from the blue. Marquis Gu's entire body froze on the spot. Gu Yan did not need to be said. He was definitely his biological son. That boy was similar to him in every way. Even his bad temper was the same. Except for his pair of eyes, he took after his mother. On the other hand, Gu Jinyu did not resemble him, and Yao Shi from a young age. The more they grew up, the more they did not resemble each other. It was not that Marquis Gu had not wondered before. If the two children were born one after the other, Marquis Gu would definitely be suspicious. But they were twins. If one was his biological son, could the other be a fake? He did not even think of the possibility of the wrong child being born. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels with a deeper meaning that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg com/89642_896422826/69918083. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 66. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Marquis Gu was stunned for a long time before he found his voice. Don't tell anyone about this, especially Madam. This Marquis doesn't want her to be affected in any way. Dr. Zhuge said, "As long as Marquis can let go of my useless disciple, I will keep my mouth shut for the rest of my life." However, is Marquis certain that Madam gave birth to boy-girl twins? This Marquis is certain. Madam was awake when she gave birth. Then there's only one possibility: wrong birth. Marquis Gu pondered for a moment and ordered, "Stay in the manor for now. This Marquis will call you if there's anything." Dr. Zhuge bowed. "I'm at Marquis's command at any time. You can leave." "Yes." After Dr. Zhuge left, Marquis Gu fell into a chair. His strength seemed to have been sucked out, and his mind was numb. The night in the manor was frighteningly quiet. The cold moonlight fell silently on the ground and shone on the trees and flowers in the courtyard. There was no doubt that the child was swapped. As for how it happened, he could only ask the servants who accompanied Madame Yao when she gave birth. It was a pity that after so many years, those people were no longer in the manor. It was very difficult to find them. Moreover, he wasn't sure if that child was still alive. It would be a lie to say that he didn't care, but it would also be a lie to say that he cared so much that he didn't hesitate. For his son's illness, Madame Yao had already exhausted her body. He had to consider whether Madame Yao could bear the blow of the truth. If telling her would kill her, then he would rather keep the truth to himself for the rest of his life. At the same time, he had to consider Jin Yu's situation. Jin Yu was the child he raised in the palm of his hand. He loved him more than he loved his 4 sons. He didn't want Jin Yu to be hurt in the slightest. Finally, there was that child. He still hadn't decided whether to recognize that child or not, but no matter what, he had to find him. He was Gu Yan's only medicine. He could save Gu Yan's life. Servants. Marquis. Call Nurse Fong over. Yes. Senior Servant Fong was the senior servant in charge of the farmstead, and she was also Yao Shi's concubine. When Yao Shi's younger brother got married, Yao Shi went to the Yao family in Qing City without knowing that she was pregnant. She stayed with the Yao family for half a year before returning to the capital. She had originally planned to return to the capital to wait for the delivery, but unexpectedly, it flared up midway. At that time, Senior Servant Fong wasn't by Yao Shi's side, but Senior Servant Fong still knew more about what happened that year than the average person. Senior Servant Fong entered the room and bowed to Marquis Gu. "Master, you were looking for this servant?" Marquis Gu raised his hand. There was no light in the room. His expression was shrouded in the darkness of the night, half bright and half dark by the moonlight. Marquis Gu asked, "Which temple did Madame give birth in?" Nanny Fong was slightly surprised. "Marquis, why are you suddenly asking about this?" Marquis Gu said faintly, "I heard that Madame has been going to that temple to pray to the Bodhisattva recently. Yan Er's illness has improved because of that. I plan to burn incense at the temple another day." Nanny Fong felt very strange. The Marquis's household had never believed in Buddhism, so why did they suddenly propose to go to the temple to offer incense? On the other side, after Gu Jiao took the money, she found a shop to make a new batch of rock sugar pork knuckles and braised meatballs. She still put them in jars. After that, she went to the cloth shop to buy a few pairs of shoes and a few sets of clothes. There were too many things that her small basket couldn't hold, so she wrapped 2 large bundles. Xiao Lulang knew that she would come to town today, and as long as she came to town, she would definitely come to pick him up from school. He told second Uncle Luo to wait. After waiting for almost an hour, even Gu Xiaoshun was wondering if his older sister had already gone back. Then Gu Jiao appeared. Her body was small, but the bundle was astonishingly large. It almost covered her entire body. She poked her small head out from the side of the bundle with difficulty. Her small face was red and she was gasping for breath. She wasn't tired. She was suffocating. The three hurriedly went to help her carry the bundle and put it on the ox cart. After sitting down, Gu Xiaoshun urged second Uncle Luo, "Let's hurry back to the village. I'm starving." Second Uncle Luo smiled. "Okay." Gu Jiao wiped the sweat from her forehead. "Why haven't you left yet?" Gu Xiaoshun said, "We were waiting for you. Brother-in-law said that you would come." Gu Jiao looked at Xiao Lulang and said seriously, "You've waited for so long. Aren't you afraid that I've already gone back?" Why did he have to wait for her? "Really?" Xiao Lulang said lightly. "Then why did you come so late? Aren't you afraid that we've already left?" It wasn't on the way from the cloth shop. She had to take a detour to see if he was waiting for her. "Really?" Gu Xiaoshun rubbed her stomach and muttered, "I'm suddenly full." "Why?" When they arrived home, little Jing Kong had been waiting for a long time at the door. The old lady told him to count from 1 to 100 and Jiao Jiao would come back. After counting many hundreds, the ox cart finally entered the village. He ran out of the room. "Jiao Jiao, Jiao Jiao." He liked to call Jiao Jiao, so Gu Jiao took after him. Seeing the little dumpling running towards her, she was about to remind him not to fall, but he fell. He was probably used to falling, so he didn't forget to hold his little bald head and rolled to Gu Jiao's feet like a little winter melon. Gu Xiaoshun carried the cloth bundle, so Gu Jiao's hands were free. She pulled little Jing Kong up and patted the dust off his body. "Does it hurt?" Little Jing Kong shook his head. "No, it doesn't hurt. I'm very good at wrestling." Gu Jiao thought wrestling is considered good, but wrestling yourself is considered bad. "Greet them." Gu Jiao pointed at Xiao Lulang and Gu Xiaoshun behind her. Little Jing Kong was a polite child, so he obediently called them brother-in-law and brother Xiaoshun, although he didn't want to call them that. Gu Jiao held little Jing Kong's hand and went home. Little Jing Kong was jumping and jumping happily. When they arrived home, little Jing Kong went to the kitchen and brought back a few big roasted sweet potatoes. "Jiao Jiao, eat sweet potatoes. I roasted them." In fact, the sweet potatoes were brought by Xuanningsiang when she came to cook at noon. Xuanningsiang started the fire, and the sweet potatoes were also washed by Xuanningsiang. Little Jing Kong just put the washed sweet potatoes into the stove with a pair of tongs. Even after roasting them, Xuanningsiang pulled them out. But in little Jing Kong's opinion, he completed the most important step of roasting sweet potatoes, roasting. So, these were the sweet potatoes he roasted. Sister Xue's steps were called holding the sweet potatoes, washing the sweet potatoes, and pulling the sweet potatoes. Gu Jiao gave him face and tasted it. "Is it delicious? Is it delicious? Is it delicious?" Little Jing Kong tilted his head and smacked. "Yes, it's delicious. It was just a little cold." She didn't mind eating it. Xiao Shun was also fine, but Xiao Liulang's stomach was delicate, so he might have a stomachache. Gu Jiao took the roasted sweet potatoes to the kitchen to heat them up. Then she took out 2 bowls, filled them with rock sugar pork knuckle and braised lion's head, and sent them to Xuanningsiang. Xuanningsiang gave her a few boiled eggs and steamed buns in return. When Gu Jiao came back, little Jing Kong had already set up the bowls and chopsticks. The family of 5 sat down to eat. Little Jing Kong waited obediently to be fed. Gu Jiao picked up a piece of fat pork knuckle and put it into his bowl. Little Jing Kong was so excited that he screamed and grabbed his chopsticks to pick up the meat. But before he could eat it, he only smelled it for a short while. Then his eyes rolled back, and he fell backward with a thud. He fell on the ground with his arms and legs spread out. His head was tilted and his tongue was out. He was unconscious. Gu Jiao, in this world, there are really people who are dizzy with meat. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/698787771. HTML Genius memorize the website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 67. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more interesting content. The novel was updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels were read for free. There were all kinds of novels that couldn't be found online. Was there something wrong with his body? Gu Jiao carried him back to his room and checked on him. There was nothing wrong with him. She had seen people who were dizzy with blood and needles, but this was the first time she saw someone who was dizzy with meat. The rest of the people were also surprised, but they knew that he was fine when they heard that he was still snoring. When little Jing Kong woke up, the meat on the table was gone. He leaned on the table and cried, "My meat, my meat, my meat." Everyone thought, "It's not that we don't want to leave meat for you, but you can't eat it." Gu Jiao was not good at coaxing people. She had coaxed the most powerful people in the world, so she was not afraid of a little kid. Old Madam coaxed him for a while. Little Jing Kong went out of Old Madam's room and went to Gu Jiao's room. He said to Gu Jiao while sobbing, "The meat said that it doesn't want to be eaten by me." Gu Jiao was stunned. "It doesn't want to be eaten by you." Little Jing Kong held back his tears and said firmly, "Great Aunt said that it's because I'm still young. When I grow up, it'll be willing to be eaten by me." Gu Jiao was full of admiration for her great aunt. She could even come up with such an excuse. She must have tricked a lot of people in the past. Old Madam couldn't remember clearly, but she vaguely felt that she had tricked a lot of people, both those who were better than her and those who were not. They were all fooled by her. After Xiao Lulang bathed little Jing Kong, little Jing Kong went back to Xiao Yulang's, his own room in his pajamas. Gu Jiao washed up and was about to go to bed. At this moment, little Jing Kong came over with a small pillow in his arms. "What's wrong?" Gu Jiao looked at him. "Are you feeling unwell?" Little Jing Kong widened his watery eyes. "My bed said that it doesn't want to sleep with me today." Gu Jiao was stunned. Why did these words sound so familiar? No, it's just a fallacious theory that I've learned, and you're already drawing inferences from it? Gu Jiao crossed her arms. "Your bed didn't say that." Little Jing Kong, "It does." Gu Jiao said, "It doesn't. It can't talk." Little Jing Kong straightened his body and said, "Jiao Jiao, how do you know that it can't talk? If you can talk about my meat, then you can talk about my bed too." Gu Jiao, I actually had no way to refute that. Gu Jiao went to look for the old lady with a serious face. Whoever instilled the twisted logic in him would have to deal with him. The old lady bolted the door and lay on the bed. She covered her head with the quilt and said, "I'm asleep." "He's asleep." Gu Jiao, it's not right for you to be so irresponsible. You didn't even provide after-sales service after fooling him. Gu Jiao wouldn't force little Jing Kong. She finally brought him back to her room. During this time, Xiao Lulang didn't say a single word. Little Jing Kong waved at Xiao Lulang with a victorious expression. "You can sleep in the West Room tonight. Don't miss me too much." Little Jing Kong was so happy that he jumped on Gu Jiao's bed with a pillow for a long time. After he was tired, he fell asleep. However, if little Jing Kong thought that he could sleep with Gu Jiao for the whole night, he was too naive. As soon as he fell asleep, Xiao Lulang came over with his crutch and carried him back to the West Room without saying a word. There was no such thing as a deep trap, only a deeper one. Your brother-in-law is still your brother-in-law. When little Jing Kong woke up and found himself lying on the bed in the West Room, he was sad as expected. He felt that he had slept in vain. Of course, he didn't think that Jiao Jiao didn't want him. He could easily guess that someone had stolen him back to her room. Little Jing Kong couldn't hold it in anymore, no matter how sensible he was. He raised his head, kicked his legs, and wailed, "Bad brother-in-law! Bad brother-in-law! He stole a child. He stole me here in the middle of the night. He's a human trafficker." The old lady, who was eating melon seeds in the central room, trembled and spilled the seeds. Human trafficker? Is that how you use it? Xiao Lulang went to school, and Gu Jiao went to pick mountain products. Only little Jing Kong and the old lady were left at home. The old lady tried to fool little Jing Kong again. However, this time, it wasn't easy to fool him anymore. "I want it to be dark. I want it to be dark. It will be dark at night. No, no. I want it to be now. It's dark now. Wah! Sensible children usually don't cry, but most people can't handle it when they cry." Little Jing Kong cried so loudly that all the villagers rushed over. They looked at him suspiciously, as if the old lady was torturing the little monk at home. The old lady was having a headache. The old lady, who didn't do the after-sales service last night, finally had to shoulder everything by herself. Gu Jiao didn't know that little Jing Kong broke down and cried after he woke up. She had no experience in raising a child. She didn't have any experience in raising a child since she was young. If she was picking mushrooms at the back of the mountain, she would have heard little Jing Kong's cries. However, she went a little far today and went to the other side of the mountain to pick spring bamboo shoots. When she adopted little Jing Kong, she found that there were spring bamboo shoots in the forest near the temple. When she was selling mountain products at the market, someone used winter bamboo shoots to exchange for 2 handfuls of fungus. She used the winter bamboo shoots to make chicken soup, and Xiao Lulang drank all. There were no more winter bamboo shoots, but the spring bamboo shoots tasted good. The path in the forest was difficult to walk on, so not many people came to dig for bamboo shoots. Gu Jiao quickly filled up the small basket. Just as she was about to go down the mountain, she heard a painful groan from the depths of the forest. Gu Jiao's first reaction was that a villager was injured. She didn't hesitate and walked into the depths of the forest. When she arrived at the scene, she was surprised to see a man falling into a 2-meter deep trap. The trap looked familiar. It seemed that she dug it last year. She had forgotten about the trap because she didn't find any prey. She didn't expect that after so long she didn't catch any prey, but a living person fell into the trap. What kind of living person dared to come to such a deep forest? Gu Jiao stuck her head out and looked into the deep pit. The man felt that the light above him dimmed, so he immediately raised his head. Their eyes met, and both of them were stunned. "It's you. It's you?" They spoke in unison. "Gu Jiao, isn't this the stinky Marquis who let his guards run amok on the streets, knocked over her things, and almost reneged on the debt? Marquis Gu, isn't this the stinky girl who beat up his guards on the streets, extorted money from him, and even smashed his head?" Marquis Gu's face immediately turned cold, and the trace of joy that rose from the bottom of his heart disappeared completely. Gu Jiao, Gu Jiao turned around and left. She wasn't going to save this person. Digression, Little Jing Kong. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/698455515. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 68. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. Marquis Gu watched Gu Jiao appear and watched Gu Jiao leave. The anger in his heart began to burn. "Stop right there," he sternly shouted. "Ah, if you tell me to stop, then I will stop. Who are you to me?" Gu Jiao left in a carefree manner. She did not hesitate at all because of his identity or his anger. Marquis Gu had lived for most of his life, but he had never seen such an arrogant person. He had already learned of her status from his daughter. She was Return of Spring Hall's little medicine boy. Her master, Dr. Li, had treated Yena well. Because of this, he decided to let bygones be bygones for her offense in town. But she was great. She watched him die in the mountains and did not save him. Especially what kind of look she had just now. A lowly life dared to look down on a country's marquis. She was tired of living. She was blatantly challenging the authority of Marquis Ding and wait until he left. He would definitely punish her for her disrespect. If she did not save him, then she would not save him. He could also leave by himself. A woo. From the depths of the forest came the sound of a wolf's howl. Generally speaking, adult wolves would not howl during the day. This was a young wolf and did not know how to properly control its wolf nature. It let out a sharp howl. It should be hungry. If nothing unexpected happened, its family's lord wolf would soon come out to look for food. Gu Jiao sat down under a large tree nearby and began to wait for the wolf to appear. Marquis Gu pulled out a dagger from the trap. His figure was tall, and the trap was not deep for him. The difficult part was that his foot was caught in the trap. He tried to use the dagger to pry open the trap, but it did not seem to be a normal trap. He tried for a long time, but it did not budge in the slightest. "I can't pry it open." Gu Jiao took out her water skin and calmly drank a mouthful of water. The trap she made, it would be strange if it could be opened so easily. Marquis Gu frowned. "You didn't leave? What? Are you waiting to laugh at me?" Gu Jiao said calmly, "You're not funny, and you're not good-looking." Marquis Gu was speechless. Was that what he meant? Also, what did she mean by he was not good-looking? It was not that Marquis Gu was arrogant. It was just that Marquis Gu's appearance had overshadowed his talent since he was young. Even when he had a family and a career, the most talked about thing was still his face. This was the first time someone had said that he was ugly. Marquis Gu was a man who didn't care about appearances. But hearing Gu Jiao's words, he felt a little uncomfortable. The wolf cub howled a few more times. The wild wolves should be coming soon. He didn't think that a little girl had the ability to deal with one or even several adult wild wolves. He said sternly, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and think of a way to pull me up. When the wolf comes, you won't be able to survive." "Wait," Gu Jiao said. What were they waiting for? If he waited any longer, the wolves would really come. Marquis Gu's heart was burning with anxiety. Even if he was someone who knew martial arts, he couldn't guarantee that he would still be able to kill an adult wild wolf when his foot was caught in the trap. Rustling sounds came from the bushes. The wolf was coming. Gu Jiao climbed up the tree. Marquis Gu saw that she climbed up the tree without saying anything and was so angry that his heart ached. Would it kill her to climb up the tree after saving him? Leaving him alone in the trap, was she waiting to sacrifice the wolf? As expected, the wolf discovered Marquis Gu in the trap. Its eyes were glowing green, and it opened its bloody mouth, saliva dripping onto the ground. Marquis Gu gripped the dagger in his hand tightly. The wolf jumped into the trap with a whoosh and slapped Marquis Gu's dagger away with its paw. It then bit viciously towards Marquis Gu's neck. At the critical moment, a thin figure descended from the sky and grabbed the wolf's head. With a sickle, she slit its throat. Fresh blood splattered all over Marquis Gu's face. Marquis Gu was completely dumbfounded. At that moment, he really thought that he was going to die. When the blood spurted out, his first thought was that it was his own. It was only when the wolf was thrown to the ground by Gu Jiao that he realized that he was saved. Gu Jiao clapped her hands and bent down to use the sickle to pry open the trap. Marquis Gu looked at the calm and composed Gu Jiao, and for a moment, he thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. Did this lass really kill a wolf? Why did she look like she had chopped up a bag of cabbage? When Gu Jiao went on a mission in her previous life, there were many scarier things than wolves. If he couldn't even kill a wolf, Qian Baihe would have died in the mission. Gu Jiao carried the wolf with one hand and the rope hanging from the tree with the other. She walked out of the trap in a few steps. "Do you want to come up?" Gu Jiao threw the rope to him. Marquis Gu wouldn't admit that he was shocked by this lass. He grabbed the rope in a daze and let Gu Jiao pull him up. Gu Jiao's trap wasn't sharp. It was just a tight grip. But his other leg was sprained and swollen. He sat on the ground for a long time before he regained his senses. "Just now, did you use me as bait?" Gu Jiao didn't say anything. Marquis Gu gritted his teeth. "Tell me, did you use me as bait?" Gu Jiao looked at him frankly. "In that situation, even if you didn't act as bait, you would still be caught. Moreover, it was easier for me to kill it in the trap. If we were on flat ground, you would definitely be bitten twice." Marquis Gu was so angry that his teeth chattered. "So you used me as bait. You vicious wild girl." Gu Jiao said, "I'm not a wild girl. I have parents." Marquis Gu sneered. "Is that so? Then where is your father?" Gu Jiao thought for a while and said seriously, "He can't come. But you can go and find him." Marquis Gu rolled up his sleeves. "Okay, tell me, where is he?" It was the father's fault if the child didn't teach him well. He wanted to see what kind of bastard gave birth to such a vicious lass. Gu Jiao glanced at his feet. "He's underground." Marquis Gu. Gu Jiao packed her things and prepared to go down the mountain. Marquis Gu said coldly, "You're just going to leave me here without a care?" Gu Jiao looked at him strangely. "Who are you to me? Why should I care about you?" Marquis Gu's heart hurt again. He finally realized that this lass was inexperienced and didn't know how much power a marquis had. As the saying goes, newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Marquis Gu said seriously, "Fortunately, I'm not a bloodthirsty person. Otherwise, you would be dead." Gu Jiao looked at him deeply and nodded. "You're really lucky." She would definitely do a clean job of killing people who wanted to kill her. Marquis Gu. "Why do I feel a chill on the back of my neck? Do you know how to get to the temple nearby?" Marquis Gu asked. "I do." Gu Jiao said. "Lead the way." Marquis Gu ordered. Gu Jiao looked at the wolf's corpse on the ground with hesitation. Marquis Gu knew that she couldn't bear to part with the wolf. This wolf could be sold for a lot of money in the market. It was a considerable amount of wealth for a poor farmer. He said impatiently, "I'll buy it." Gu Jiao didn't refuse. 20 taels. Marquis Gu casually handed her a 20 taels banknote. "Can we go now?" Gu Jiao kept the banknote and looked at the wolf's corpse again. "What do you plan to do with it?" Marquis Gu said without hesitation. "Throw it away." "Are you sure you want to throw it away?" Gu Jiao looked at him doubtfully. Marquis Gu said disdainfully, "It's just a wolf. Can't I afford to throw it away? Hurry up and lead the way." "Oh." Gu Jiao bent down and easily picked up the wolf and put on her shoulder. "You've already thrown it away. I picked it up. You're not allowed to ask me for it." Marquis Gu. Digression. Marquis Gu's psychological shadow is 23,333. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/8964/2_896/698055585. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Did the Marquis come alone? Marquis Gu replied, "That's right. If he hadn't come alone, how could he have gotten lost?" In fact, it was also his fault for not wanting to dismount. When he reached the foot of the mountain, he inquired about the way up. But because he was riding a horse, it was not convenient for him to walk on the steps, so he planned to go through the forest. Unexpectedly, he encountered a trap. Not only was he trapped, his horse also ran away. In the end, he had to obediently walk up the mountain. The abbot realized the importance of this matter and had his disciples guard the door, not allowing anyone to approach. The Marquis can speak now. Marquis Gu bluntly said, "My wife gave birth in the temple." This Marquis wants to ask, were there any other women who gave birth in the temple that night? An ominous premonition rose in the abbot's heart. Why does the Marquis ask this? Marquis Gu calmly said, "Abbot does not need to know why this Marquis asked this. You only need to answer this Marquis, yes or no." The abbot muttered to himself for a moment and squeezed the prayer beads in his hand. Yes. Marquis Gu's heart tightened. Does abbot know where the child is now? The abbot shook his head. I don't know. That benefactor only came once and did not leave her name. She left the mountain 2 days after giving birth. It was a daughter. Marquis Gu was not surprised that it was a daughter. After all, if it wasn't, it would be impossible to carry the wrong child. Thinking of something, he asked again, "Did that woman look like she came from a wealthy family?" The abbot shook his head again. No, there were patches on her clothes. He only saw that benefactor from afar and did not even see her appearance clearly. He only vaguely remembered that she was wearing very simple clothes. There were so many pilgrims in the temple. But why did he have an impression of that benefactor? It was mainly because she came up the mountain to offer incense with a big belly. No one expected that it would rain heavily in the afternoon. She and the Marquis had to stay in the temple for the night. It was not clear who had acted up first. After all, the Marquis had someone to serve her. The benefactor was alone in the meditation room. When the midwife came over, they found that she was about to give birth. It was an extremely chaotic night. Especially when the abbot was tricked into drinking wine, the abbot collected his thoughts and put his palms together. "Amitba," he said. Marquis Gu was silent. He had thought that the child might not have been taken away by an aristocratic family like theirs. But he did not expect that it would be a family so poor that they had to wear patches. He did not dare to think about what kind of child that kind of family would raise. Just look at Jinyu. To be raised so well in the Marquis household, it could be seen that one's birth was not the most important, but the family they grew up in was. A child who grew up in the countryside. Could she really become a respectable daughter of the Marquis household? However, that child's situation was indeed tragic. In any case, she was the blood of the Marquis household. Even if he did not recognize her in the future, he would not treat her unfairly. He would make it up to her in other ways. After finishing his conversation with the abbot, Marquis Gu stood up and bid farewell. "Abbot, please do not tell anyone that I came to the temple." Although the abbot did not know why Marquis Gu was secretly investigating the benefactor's child, he still nodded in agreement. Marquis Gu returned home. Not having a horse was an extremely torturous matter, especially when one of his feet was swollen like a pig's trotter. After much difficulty, he finally reached the foot of the mountain. His last bit of strength had been squeezed out. He sat on the last step, panting. Suddenly, he felt the light above his head darken, as if a huge creature was coming to envelop him. He pressed down on the dagger at his waist and raised his head vigilantly. He saw a tall and strong horse. This horse looked a little familiar. Wait, wasn't this the horse he had lost? The next second, he saw a person sitting on the horse. In front of that person was a wolf. "It's you." Marquis Gu was so shocked that he stood up. It was Gu Jiao's first time riding an ancient horse. It was quite refreshing. Her small body sitting on a tall horse instantly had a domineering feeling of a king looking down on the world. She pulled on the reins in her hands and looked down at Marquis Gu. She nodded seriously and said, "Yes, it's me." Marquis Gu. Marquis Gu looked at her horse strangely. "Where did you get this horse?" Gu Jiao said honestly, "I pick it up." Marquis Gu's face was full of black lines. "You can even pick up a horse? What kind of luck is this?" The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that you can't find online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642826/697693839. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 70. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. This is my horse, Marquis Gu said seriously. Gu Jiao looked at him suspiciously, as if trying to determine if his words were true or false. Marquis Gu's heart trembled under her gaze, and he suddenly remembered the wolf. He hurriedly said, "I didn't throw it away, I accidentally lost it." Although lost things can be picked up, if the owner asks for it, it must be returned. Otherwise, it would be considered a crime of embezzlement. Madame Zhou and Madame Lu, who had picked up little Master Qin's money and refused to return it, had suffered this loss. As a result, they had been beaten in the yamen and fined a large amount of money. Of course, Marquis Gu didn't know about the Gu family's mistake, but he felt that he should be able to scare a little girl. "If you don't return it to me, you will be beaten by the county magistrate." No matter how powerful she was still a country girl. What were country people most afraid of? Of course it was the officials. Although he was a marquis, he didn't say what marquis he was. She didn't know and wasn't afraid. But the county magistrate was different. He was a true local snake. No country person wasn't afraid of him. When Gu Jiao heard his words, she didn't immediately refute him. Marquis Gu felt that there was a chance. In the next second, he heard her ask him, "How can you prove that this is your horse?" Marquis Gu was stunned. Yes, how could he prove it? In order to keep a low profile, he didn't ride his own Fergana horse. Instead, he chose a guard horse. He even deliberately erased the Marquis Fu's insignia on the saddle. Horseshoe. This is what the army's war horses are made with. It's completely different from the horseshoes on the market. Marquis Gu finally thought of a piece of evidence. Unexpectedly, Gu Jiao said, "I haven't seen other horseshoes. How do I know if it's just your side of the story?" Marquis Gu choked. This was a scholar meeting a soldier. He couldn't explain himself. Gu Jiao said impartially, "How about this? You go to the yamen and report the case. If the county magistrate says the horse is yours, then I'll return it to you." How many heads does the magistrate have? Does he dare to not award the horse to him? But the problem was, he was the dignified Marquis of Zhaodu. How could he run to a small county yamen to report the loss of a horse? What was going on? Did he, the Marquis of Ding, and lack a horse? How poor was he? Was she so poor that she didn't even have anything to eat? Or was she so poor that she had to beg on the streets? How could she compete with a country bumpkin for a horse that she had picked up on the way? Especially since it was an ordinary horse that wasn't very expensive. Did he not care about his reputation? Gu Jiao glanced at him and pondered for a moment before saying, "If you really want it, I can sell it to you." Alas, it wasn't easy for me to pick up. What's so difficult about you? Didn't it carry you all the way here? You don't even have the strength to walk. He wouldn't have to carry the wolf himself. Marquis Gu was infuriated by Gu Jiao. However, he really couldn't walk anymore. He would only be able to hire a carriage when he reached the town. From here to the town was at least 20 to 30 li. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to walk even if his legs were broken. 50 taels. Gu Jiao said. Marquis Gu's hair stood on end. How can a broken horse be more expensive than a wolf? You're just raising the price. Gu Jiao seriously said, "The wolf is not what you need. The horse is." Just as he needed it, he had to raise the price. Marquis Goo was so angry that his liver hurt. In the end, Marquis Goo bought back his horse for 50 taels of silver. It was his own horse. Where could he go to reason with? When Marquis Goo returned to the villa, it was already evening. The light of the setting sun fell on the eaves of the villa, creating a golden glow. Marquis Goo handed the horse over to the palace's guards and strode towards the inner courtyard where the family of 4 lived. He had just reached the entrance when he heard a loud commotion coming from inside. He frowned and stepped over the threshold. He saw that almost all the servants in the courtyard had come. They were hiding behind trees and bushes, not daring to move or walk. And in the corridor, his son, little Guyen, was lying on a rattan chair that all the servants were looking at. Beside Guyen stood Gu Jinyu, who was so angry that her face was pale. Gu Jinyu was hugging a little white rabbit in her arms. "Why don't you allow me to raise a rabbit?" Gu Jinyu asked unhappily. Guyen lazily snorted. "I just don't allow you to raise one." Gu Jinyu angrily said, "If you have the ability, give me a reason." Guyen put a hand behind his head and leisurely said, "This is my courtyard. If I say I won't let you raise it, then I won't let you raise it." Gu Jinyu hugged the rabbit and stomped her feet. "This is also my courtyard." Guyen calmly snorted, "Your courtyard is in the capital." Gu Jinyu spent half of her time in the capital, unlike Guyen, who spent most of his time here. Guyen naturally thought that this place belonged to him more. The servants did not dare to mediate, nor did they dare to really leave. If they left, if anything happened to the siblings, they would not be able to bear the consequences. The Marquis of Gu more or less understood what was going on. Gu Jinyu had liked cats and dogs since she was young, but Guyen was very repulsed. The siblings often quarreled over raising pets. He had always been puzzled. They were fraternal twins and were the closest people in the world. Logically speaking, their relationship should be very good, but Guyen never spoke and only bullied Jinyu. Guyen did not allow Jinyu to drink Yao Shi's milk. The moment he did, he would wail loudly. He also did not allow Yao Shi to carry Jinyu. He would even punch and kick Jinyu as long as he lay in the cradle. At that time, Guyen was just a little munchkin who spat milk bubbles. No one took this to heart. They only thought that it was a child's possessiveness. Later on, when Guyen grew up, he did not bully Jinyu like this, but he also did not get close to Jinyu. After knowing Jinyu's background, the things that he could not understand gradually became clear. Guyen and his elder sister had been together for 10 months in the mother's womb. They were the closest people in the world. So after Guyen was born, he could clearly sense that the baby girl lying beside him was not his elder sister. He wanted his elder sister. Only his elder sister could make him as stable as he was in the mother's womb. But there was a completely unfamiliar baby girl lying beside him. It was no wonder that he always cried so loudly. He wanted his elder sister. Unfortunately, no one understood him. Until he grew up, he did not even remember. But his rejection of Gu Jinyu remained in his bones. The Marquis of Gu felt that this guess was ridiculous, but other than this, he really could not think of a better explanation. The siblings continued to quarrel. Gu Jinyu said aggrievedly, "The little bunny is not noisy or fussy. Why won't you even let me raise this? Can't you be reasonable?" Gu Yen looked up at the sky. "You're being unreasonable." Gu Jinyu bit her lip. "Why should I?" Gu Yen arrogantly raised his brows. "Because I like it. You." Gu Jinyu's face turned red with anger. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhpqg.com/8964-_8964-2_697377026. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in a second. www.zhpqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhpqg.com Chapter 71. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more fully. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online. In the end, Gu Jinyu did not win against Gu Yan. Although she was the only daughter in the family, Gu Yan was the youngest, and Gu Yan was indeed not in good health. Seeing Gu Jinyu reluctantly letting someone carry the little rabbit away, and Gu Yan proudly raising his eyebrows, Marquis Gu had mixed feelings. Gu Yan was unsociable since he was young. He did not get close to anyone, including Madame Yao. He rejected anyone who was good to Gu Jinyu, but almost no one in the residence was bad to Gu Jinyu. If he did not know the truth, he would have thought that it was all his son's fault. He would not have thought that the most important person in his son's life was missing. His son was the one who was hurt the most. However, even if he thought that it was his son's fault, he had never been harsh on him. He would only make up for Jinyu's grievances. Jinyu's grievances could be made up, but what about his son? If they couldn't give their son something, would that child be able to give to him? After Gu Jiao went down the mountain, she was not in a hurry to go home. Instead, she carried the wolf to the market and sold it for 18 taels of silver. After that, Gu Jiao went to the academy to fetch Xiao Lulang and Gu Xiaoshan from school. The three of them went back to the village together. The old lady, who had been quarreled by little Jing Kong the whole day, was finally free. She slumped on the rattan chair like a salted fish. She did not have the strength to move at all. She felt that if the two of them did not come back soon, she would simply die on the spot. Little Jing Kong had been waiting for Gu Jiao the whole day, but when Gu Jiao really came back, he ran away again. He closed the door alone and sat on a small bench in the corner. His little face leaned against the wall, looking as pitiful as it could get. Gu Jiao did not understand what happened. She was surprised that she did not see little Jing Kong. Where's Jing Kong? The old lady weakly pointed to the west room. He's angry. He's hiding from you. Gu Jiao was confused. Angry? Who provoked him? The old lady glared at Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang. You too. Who told you to bring him over in the middle of the night? Who told you to leave before dawn? The first sentence was about Xiao Lulang, and the second sentence was about Gu Jiao. I'm so tired. The old lady didn't want to bother with the couple anymore. Gu Jiao didn't understand at first, but now that old Madame Fu said it, she understood. Gu Jiao went to the west room. Little Jing Kong's ears perked up when he heard that someone was coming, but he did not turn around. Gu Jiao came up behind him and bent down to look at his side profile. Are you angry with me? Little Jing Kong turned around on the stool and continued to have his back facing Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao said softly, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't know you would be afraid. Little Jing Kong couldn't help but say, I'm not afraid. I'm not that timid. Gu Jiao pretended to be surprised. Is that so? Then why are you angry? I was. Little Jing Kong teased her for a long time, but he didn't say the words, I missed you. Gu Jiao came up to him again. He lowered his eyes and didn't look at Gu Jiao, but Gu Jiao looked at him steadily. Okay, it's my fault today. I apologize to you. Can you forgive me? Little Jing Kong glanced at Gu Jiao quickly and lowered his head. He pinched the corner of his clothes and said softly, I need a kiss to forgive you. Gu Jiao's heart almost melted. What kind of cutie was this? She would give him 10 kisses, not to mention one. Gu Jiao kissed his little face without hesitation. Little Jing Kong was stunned. He opened his grape-like eyes wide and stared at Gu Jiao for a few seconds. Finally, he screamed. He said it casually, but you really kissed him. Little Jing Kong covered his face with his little hands and ran away shyly. Little Jing Kong, who was kissed, looked like he was drunk the whole night. His little face was extremely red. During the meal, he sat beside Gu Jiao, as obedient as a little mimosa. At night, Xiao Lulang bathed him as usual. He sat in the small basin and handed his left face to Xiao Lulang. This side is enough. Don't wash the other side. There's a kiss there. With an expressionless face, Xiao Lulang grabbed the towel in the basin and slapped it on the right side of his face. Little Jing Kong, little Jing Kong. Wah! Little Jing Kong's heart-wrenching cries suddenly came from the kitchen. Old Mistress, who was secretly eating candied plums in her room, was shocked and almost lost her life. Old Mistress was furious and shouted, "Lulang, what did you do to him again?" Xiao Lulang didn't do anything. He just washed the kiss on a certain little monk's face clean. Little Jing Kong cried miserably. In the end, Gu Jiao came over and gave him another kiss. Only then did he stop crying. Little Jing Kong became very careful after that. He used his little hands to protect his face to prevent his bad brother-in-law from sneaking up on him. He didn't have any hair, so he could go to bed after bathing and putting on his clothes. He hugged his little pillow and went to Old Mistress's room to say good night. Then he went to Gu Jiao's room to say good night. "Jiao Jiao, I'm going to bed now. See you tomorrow." Gu Jiao patted his little bald head and said, "Go to bed. I'll wake you up tomorrow morning." Okay. Little Jing Kong skipped back to the West Room. He took off his shoes and climbed into bed. Xiao Lulang was sitting in front of the desk, copying a book. Little Jing Kong looked at his bad brother-in-law warily and moved his little pillow further away from his bad brother-in-law's pillow. Xiao Lulang didn't even lift his eyelids and only snorted. Little Jing Kong put his hands on his waist and said, "Don't you dare touch my kiss." Xiao Lulang raised his eyebrows and said, "Your kiss." Little Jing Kong said proudly, "Jiao Jiao gave it to me. You didn't." Xiao Lulang looked at him slowly, and his gaze fell on his chubby little face. He said unhurriedly, "I don't need to touch them. They'll fly away by themselves when you fall asleep." Little Jing Kong's face changed. He could already see the cruel scene of his 2 kisses abandoning him when he wasn't paying attention. He felt terrible. These 2 little traitors. After 3 seconds of shock, Little Jing Kong jumped out of bed and went to Gu Jiao's room. He asked for a veil from Gu Jiao and wrapped around his face and head. He wrapped himself up tightly like a little farmer who was going to work in the fields. Then he carried a standard farmer's hat and went back to his room valiantly. Little Jing Kong raised his chin and said to his bad brother-in-law, "I'm covered. They can't fly away." Little Jing Kong was a very smart child. Although he was less than 4 years old, he could recognize more words than the senior brothers in the temple. When the other young monks were having a headache about how to recite the scriptures, he could already recite them backwards. Therefore, when he said to Xiao Lulang that he was always the first in the exams, he was used to it. He wasn't bragging. He was just stating an objective fact. He had a complete set of logic that couldn't be interfered with by anyone. The senior brothers couldn't win against him, and even the abbot couldn't win against him. He was actually a very troublesome existence in the temple. It was only because he met Xiao Lulang that he was occasionally led astray. However, his logic was still invincible. Therefore, no matter how Xiao Lulang interfered with him, he always found his own solution. Xiao Lulang said, "What's the point of covering it up? You can take off the veil tomorrow. They'll still fly away." Little Jing Kong said, "No, I've already planted them. They'll sprout tomorrow morning. They can't leave me in the future." Digression. Many years later, the heavenly general remembered his dark history when he was a child. So shameful. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels that can't be found on the internet are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642826/697040008. HTML Genius. Remember the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhbqg.com Chapter 72. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. You can find all the novels that you can't find on the internet. Xiao Lulang was speechless. Xiao Lulang had never raised a child before, so he didn't know if other people's children were as weird as his. Xuaningxiang's child was definitely not like that. That little bean only knew how to eat, unlike the little monk Gu Jiao brought back. His brain was filled with weird things. Little Jing Kong, who was waiting for his kiss to germinate, fell asleep while hugging his quilt. Under Gu Jiao's care and repair, the West Room was no longer damp. The mattress was dried a few days ago, so it was soft and warm. Little Jing Kong slept very comfortably, and his little face seemed to be filled with a happy smile. Xiao Lulang glanced at little Jing Kong, but he didn't take it to heart. He continued to copy the book. After Xiao Lulang copied a line of words, he frowned slightly, put down the pen, and picked up a book to read. Soon, he found that he couldn't concentrate on the book, so he frowned deeply. After a while, he turned his head, and his eyes fell on the little monk who was sleeping soundly. He stood up and walked to the bed. He bent down slightly, stretched out his slender fingers, and gently untied little Jing Kong's head veil. Little Jing Kong was so asleep that he didn't wake up at all. He didn't know that his bad brother-in-law was playing tricks on him again. Xiao Lulang looked at his bright red cheeks and naughtily extended his demonic claws, plucking his face with a swoosh. After Gu Jiao finished her work, she went to the West Room to ask Xiao Lulang to do rehabilitation. The door was open, so she walked in openly. In the end, she saw Xiao Lulang lying on the bed. His jade-like delicate hands were scratching little Jing Kong's face, as if he was pulling some invisible grass. He was quite serious, even more serious than when he was studying. Gu Jiao was confused. "What are you doing?" Was he possessed? He looked like an old-fashioned scholar. But was he so childish when playing with children? The next day, Gu Jiao woke up little Jing Kong. The first thing little Jing Kong did when he woke up was to touch his veil. Seeing that the veil was still wrapped around his head, he was secretly relieved. After one night, Yaya would have definitely grown out. In the future, Jiao Jiao's kisses would always be on his face. Gu Jiao couldn't bear to tell him that his little seeds and sprouts had already been killed by his brother-in-law last night. After breakfast, Gu Jiao sent Xiao Lulang to the entrance of the village. In the past, she used to send him by herself. Now that she had little Jing Kong, the mother and daughter. No, the two sisters sent him together. A family of 3, strangely neat. It was worth mentioning that Xiao Lulang had become the county examination's first desk master, so his reputation in town had increased. The number of people who came to him to copy books had also increased. However, in order to let him prepare for the examination with peace of mind, Gu Jiao didn't allow him to accept any more books to supplement the family income. Xiao Lulang finished copying the books that he promised and received 10 taels of silver. It was less than half of the amount he used to copy books, but the money was several times more. He gave all the money he earned to Gu Jiao and didn't accept any more tasks to copy books. The day of the prefectural examination was approaching, and the examinees started to make preparations. The current dynasty's county and prefectural examinations were held earlier than the previous dynasties. At the end of February, the examinees had to leave for the examination hall in the prefectural city to take part in the prefectural examination. It took a few days to travel from town to the prefectural city by horse carriage. Although Xiao Lulang was rehabilitating every day, he still couldn't throw away his crutches. Therefore, Gu Jiao was worried that he would go out alone. Gu Jiao wanted to go to the prefectural city with him, but she had to take care of the elderly and children at home, so she couldn't leave. Fortunately, Feng Lin had applied for leave from the academy and accompanied Xiao Lulang to the prefectural city. Before they left, Gu Jiao packed a bag for Xiao Lulang. Other than clothes and money, she also packed a few bottles of emergency medicine from the small medicine box. This was to prevent him from getting carsick from the long journey, and to prevent him from getting acclimatized to the environment and having diarrhea. The horse carriage to town was prepared by the headmaster. Gu Jiao didn't refuse. Although she didn't lack money to hire a horse carriage, how could a hired horse carriage be better than the headmaster's horse carriage? The coachman was also from the academy, so he was very familiar with the prefectural city. Before dawn, the coachman drove the horse carriage to the village. Feng Lin was waiting in town. Gu Jiao took the bag onto the horse carriage and gave the coachman a purse. "Thank you for your hard work." No, no, no. The coachman was ordered by the headmaster to send Xiao Lulang to the prefectural test. He had never seen the headmaster care so much about any student, so he naturally didn't dare to accept Gu Jiao's bribe in private. Moreover, the headmaster was an honest person. If the headmaster knew that he had accepted bribes, he would definitely be expelled from the academy. Gu Jiao said, "Take it. The red packet for the headmaster is bigger than the one for you." The coachman was speechless. In the toilet, little Jing Kong and Xiao Lulang started a conversation between men. Little Jing Kong looked serious. "Do you want to talk?" "Talk about what?" Xiao Lulang said calmly. Little Jing Kong glanced at him and said, "You don't have to pee behind my back." "I won't peep." Xiao Lulang said expressionlessly, "Get to the point." Little Jing Kong said seriously, "I heard that you and Jiao Jiao have been married for so long, but you haven't traveled far." Xiao Lulang raised his eyebrows and said, "So?" Little Jing Kong looked straight ahead. "My family is a little worried about you." The corner of Xiao Liulang's lips twitched indifferently. Little Jing Kong raised his little hand seriously and made a stop gesture. "You don't have to feel too much pressure. It's okay if you don't do well in the exam. Anyway, when I grow up, I will do very well in the exam. My family doesn't need to rely on you. I can support it." After that, he got up from the toilet bowl with a strong aura, pulled up his underwear, and went out with a domineering look. Xiao Lulang, who was despised by him even when he was peeing, was speechless. What kind of arrogant little monk was this? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642286/116131695. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 73. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. On the other side, Marquis Gu took up residence in the hot spring villa. Marquis Gu held an important position in the capital. Logically speaking, he couldn't be away for too long, but this was an important matter. He had already written a letter to his second son in the capital, asking him to enter the palace and ask for leave from His Majesty. A normal marquis might not be able to see His Majesty, but Marquis Gu's younger sister was His Majesty's favorite concubine. Thus, second young master, Gu had no difficulty entering the palace to see His Majesty. His Majesty knew about Gu Yan's situation and guessed that Marquis Gu was staying because Gu Yan wasn't doing well. He told Marquis Gu to stay in the villa and take care of the family matters. The only thing he didn't say was that he would return to the capital after taking care of Gu Yan's funeral. Marquis Gu knew nothing about His Majesty's inner drama. He was busy looking for that child. Marquis Gu first looked for the midwife who had delivered Madame Yao's child. The midwife was invited from a nearby village. The search area wasn't wide, so there was quickly news. Unfortunately, the midwife had passed away a few years ago. Her family only knew that she had indeed gone to the temple to deliver a child and had received a large reward. Her family didn't know anything else. Marquis Gu treated a dead horse as a living horse. He started from the nearby village and really did find some clues. There were 5 children born in the temple. One was 18, one was 19, and one was only 7 years old. The ages of these 3 didn't match. The remaining 2 were of the right age. They were both villagers at the foot of the mountain. One was in Apricot Flower Village, and the other was in Chinchuan Village. Marquis Gu's trusted guard went to Apricot Flower Village first, but found that the child was a boy and the month of birth was wrong. The twins were born in the 10th month, and the boy was born in the 8th month. Thus, only the child in Chinchuan Village was left. If this was also wrong, they would have to search outside Chinchuan Village. That way, the search area would be wider. Marquis. The guard in charge of this investigation was called Huang Zhong. He was Marquis Gu's trusted aide. He said, "Marquis, Chinchuan Village isn't the village at the foot of the mountain. It's on the other side of the mountain." The possibility wasn't very high. That was what Marquis Gu thought as well, which was why he placed Chinchuan Village as the last place to be investigated. Marquis Gu didn't have much hope in his heart. He said to Huang Zhong, "Go and take a look first. Come back if it's not him. Don't let anyone know. If it's him, I'll wait for you at the tea house in town." Yes. After receiving the order, Huang Zhong immediately took a carriage to Clear Spring Village. Huang Zhong was in his early 40s. He was burly and had a gentle face. At first glance, one could tell that he was a good person. It was easy for him to gain the trust of strangers. That's the Gu family's child. An old man who was sunbathing in front of his house said. The old man was a little old. He had bad hearing and poor eyesight, and he was forgetful. He only remembered that there was a baby in the Gu family who was born in a temple. Which Gu clan? Huang Zhong asked. Li Zheng. Gu Li Zheng. The old man waved his hand and pointed the way. His surname was also Gu? What a coincidence. Huang Zhong thanked the old man and drove a carriage to the Gu family's old house. Gu Das Hun and Gu Xiaoshan had gone to school. Gu Lijing took Gu Changhai to the yamen to get rice and grain. Gu Changlu and Gu Er's Hun were sowing in the fields. Only Gu Yue, Madame Wu, and her daughter-in-law were at home. It was Gu Yue who opened the door. It wasn't the first time Gu Yue had seen nobles in carriages, but she was still stunned. Who are you looking for? It was normal for a country girl to react this way because she hadn't seen the world. Huang Zhong smiled and said, "Is Gu Lijing here?" Gu Yue was afraid to talk to a strange man, so she turned and ran into the house. Grandmother. Someone is looking for grandfather. Madame Wu and her daughter-in-law were chopping chili in the backyard. Seeing Gu Yue running in panic, Madame Wu frowned impatiently. Who's looking for your grandfather? Gu Yue pointed behind her. I don't know. He came in a big carriage. Madame Wu's expression changed when she heard that it was a carriage. Madame Wu put down the kitchen knife in her hand, wiped her hands with a rag, and walked quickly to the door. Huang Zhong was in a 2-horse carriage, which was 1 more horse than the carriage of the steward who sent the invitation to Gu Xiaoshan last time. Madame Wu suddenly realized that this person's status was higher than the dean of the academy. But why did such a noble person come to their house? Madame Wu asked with a smile, "Who are you? Why are you looking for my husband?" My surname is Huang. I heard that you have a child who was born in the temple. I want to inquire about the child's situation. Madame Wu's smile suddenly disappeared. He was looking for that little jinx. As long as he was involved with that little jinx, nothing good would come out of it. Madame Wu was about to close the door with a dark face, but Madame Lu's eyes flashed and she came over. She said with a smile, "Then you can't ask for nothing." Huang Zhong understood, but his smile didn't change. He took out a silver ingot from his arms. The eyes of Madame Wu and her daughter-in-law instantly popped out. Madame Lu reached out to take it, but Madame Wu grabbed the silver ingot first. Madame Lu secretly gritted her teeth. She wanted the silver ingot. So why did it go into her mother-in-law's pocket? After receiving the silver ingot, Madame Wu's face looked much better. What do you want to ask? Ask. How old is the child? Is it a girl? 14. Girl. This time, it was Huang Zhong's eyes that lit up. When was she born? Madame Wu was stumped by this question. Who would bother to remember a money-losing fool's birth characters? Madame Lu hurriedly said, I know. She was born in October. That month, she was pregnant with Gu Xiaoshan, so she had a deep impression of it. Even the month was right. Huang Zhong began to get excited. What's the date? 17 or 18? Madame Lu couldn't remember clearly. It seemed that except for Gu Xiaoshan, no one would remember Gu Jiao's birthday. The twins were born on the 18th. These clues could be said to be very close. Huang Zhong suppressed his excitement and continued to ask, which temple was it born in? Madame Lu pointed and said, the temple on the other side of the mountain. Which temple is there? At this time, Gu Changlu came out with a hoe. Madame Lu waved at him. Urshuan's father. Was Jianyang born on the 18th or the 17th? 18? What's wrong? Gu Changlu said while looking at the man and the carriage in front of the door, strangely. Huang Zhong was so excited that he couldn't be more excited. Everything was right, so it should be right. He didn't expect that the child he didn't have any hope for was the child they were looking for. Gu Changlu came to Madame Wu and Madame Lu's side. At this time, Madame Zhou also came out to watch the fun. Only Gu Yue was timid. She hid at the back door of the central room and secretly looked at them. Huang Zhong couldn't hide his excitement. Gu Changlu looked him up and down and asked Madame Lu, why do you suddenly ask about Jianyang? Madame Lu pulled Gu Changlu to the side and pointed to Madame Wu's pocket, whispering, he came to ask about Jianyang and gave me a silver ingot. Mother took it all. Gu Changlu glared at Madame Lu. He was dissatisfied that Madame Lu used such a tone to complain about his mother. However, he didn't agree with Madame Wu's actions either. He walked to Madame Wu's side and said, Mother, we can't accept this silver ingot. Madame Wu tightened her grip on the purse. Why can't we accept it? Gu Changlu looked at Huang Zhong and said, we don't even know who he is. Why is he asking about Jianyang? What if he's a bad person and has bad intentions towards Jianyang? Madame Wu was unhappy when she heard this. What did that little jinx's life have to do with her? It's better for him to die so that the whole family won't be disturbed. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels can be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/1160940016. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 74. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online. Huang Zhong said, don't worry, I'm not a bad person. This may be a bit abrupt, but I wonder if I can see Jianyang? No. Gu Changlu rejected without hesitation. If the other party didn't even let him see her, how could he bring her to town and let the Marquis see her? He couldn't knock out the whole family and kidnap the child, right? Besides, he didn't even know who the child was. Huang Zhong felt that it was very likely that the other party was his young miss. Since that was the case, he couldn't offend the family of the young miss's adoptive parents. He softened his tone and said, may I ask where the child's parents are? I have something to say to them. Madame Wu said, her parents passed away. I'm her grandmother. I raised her. Tell me what you have to say. She didn't have parents when she was young? Huang Zhong's mood suddenly became complicated. He thought for a moment and asked, "Can we talk inside?" Madame Wu led Huang Zhong into the house. Huang Zhong asked about the details of the birth, especially why Madame Su went up the mountain with a big belly. It turned out that Madame Su wasn't from a village. She had married far away, and her family had sent a letter saying that her father was dying and asked her to find a way to go home. Madame Su was pregnant, and her in-laws naturally didn't allow her to go far away. She had no choice but to go to the temple to beg the Bodhisattva. She went without telling her in-laws, saying that she was going to pick some wild vegetables, and that she would be back before dark. Who would have thought that there would be a sudden thunderstorm, and she would be trapped in the temple and slip? The Marquis's premature birth was caused by twins, but hers was an accident. At first, the Gu family didn't know that she went to the temple. When she didn't come back in the heavy rain, Gu Sanlang wanted to find his wife, but was stopped by his two brothers. Going into the forest in a thunderstorm was suicidal. Madame Su came back 2 days later. When she came back, the child had already been born. It was a girl with a red spot on her face. She was so ugly that she didn't look like Gu Sanlang's biological daughter. Gu Sanlang was famous for his good looks. Many people from the surrounding villages were eager to be his wife. In the end, he chose Lady Su, mainly because Lady Su had a large dowry. Madame Wu had once suspected that Madame Su had lost her child in the mountains. She was afraid that her family would blame her, so she picked up a child and brought it back. Su Shi was an honest person. She said that she gave birth to this child in the temple. If you don't believe me, you can ask the abbot in the temple. Madame Wu and her second daughter-in-law, Madame Lu, went to ask and confirmed that Madame Su had given birth in the temple. The baby was born alive, and his cries could be heard all over the temple. "You didn't pick it up?" Madame Wu asked at that time. The monk laughed. "Do you know who was the other female benefactor who gave birth here that night? She is a noble in the capital, who would be able to pick up her child." Madame Wu instantly fell silent. The children of nobles were more precious than gold. Not to mention picking them up, they couldn't even be stolen. Hearing this, Huang Zhong was completely certain that the Su family's child was the one he was looking for. But from the looks of it, Madame Su didn't know that she had carried the wrong baby. Her surname is also Gu. What a coincidence! Huang Zhong suddenly had a feeling of fate. He quickly asked, "Do Madame Su and Gu Sanlang love the child?" What the hell was this? Madame Su and Gu Sanlang almost tied the child to their belts. This was also what made Madame Wu dissatisfied. Madame Su was a hen who couldn't lay eggs. She had such a good husband like Gu Sanlang, but she couldn't give birth to a good child. It wasn't easy for her to give birth to a daughter. Not only was she ugly, but she was also stupid. She was stupid because when she grew up, she found that other children could jump, but she couldn't even walk. She only called her mother when she was 3 years old. However, the couple didn't dislike her at all. They loved the child very much. Gu Jiao's mother's hard life began after the couple died. Of course, Madame Wu didn't say this. Huang Zhong had too many clues to digest in his mind, so he didn't notice Madame Wu's hesitation for a while. He looked at Madame Wu and the others and said excitedly, "To tell you the truth, the noble who gave birth in the temple that year was my wife. The two children may have been mixed up." Madame Wu and the others were stunned. I don't quite understand. Say it again." Madame Wu stammered. Huang Zhong smiled and said, "Sanlang's daughter is my family's young miss." Madame Wu opened her mouth. "Your family is," Huang Zhong warmly said, "Marquis Dingan's manor." Boom. Everyone in the room was thunderstruck. They didn't understand the rest, but they understood the last 2 words. Marquis Manor. That damn girl was actually from the Marquis Manor? Marquis Manor has a higher official position than the county magistrate? Madame Lu carefully asked. The Marquis Manor was not an official position. It was a manor. The Marquis was the official. But Huang Zhong understood Madame Lu's meaning. Huang Zhong smiled naturally. Huang Zhong didn't say the exact difference. Even if he did, they wouldn't understand. In the capital, anyone who dared to ask this question would have already been crushed to death by the Marquis. Comparing him to a dog's Marquis, who were they looking down on? Huang Zhong was rather polite to the Gu family. After all, the Gu family had raised their young miss. He amiably said, "My family's Marquis is in town. Can I bring that child to see my family's Marquis?" These people were completely scared silly. They couldn't even speak. First, they were shocked. They didn't think that the girl's background would be so frightening. Second, they were frightened. They had bullied the girl many times over the years. If the Marquis knew that they were so harsh to his own daughter, would he send them all to the yamen to eat prison food? Just as the people in the room were in a daze, Gu Zhanghai arrived home. He first noticed the carriage outside the door. Then he saw the room full of frightened birds. He glanced at the powerful Huang Zhong and frowned. He asked Madame Wu, "Mother, what is it? Where's your father?" Madame Wu looked behind him. Gu Zhanghai said, "Father went to granduncle's place. He told me to come back first." That. Madame Wu didn't know how to tell her son. Huang Zhong smiled understandingly and said, "Well, I'll send someone to inform the Marquis first. You can discuss how to tell her. If it's not convenient for you to say it, I'll do it." Such a big thing had happened. It was reasonable to give people time to digest it, but it couldn't be delayed for too long. He had to see the child today, anyway. After Huang Zhong went out, the three women trembled and told Gu Jiao's background. Although Gu Zhanghai was a man, his reaction was no better than the three women's. His whole face turned pale, and his legs were weak. If they treated Gu Jiao well, he would be happy to hear the news. But the point was, they didn't treat Gu Jiao as a person at all. They didn't let her eat or drink well. She did all the heavy and dirty work, such as cutting pigweed, feeding pigs, picking up pig dung. But she was stupid and couldn't do it well. So they gradually stopped asking her to do it. But they often beat and scolded her. Moreover, when she was less than 14 years old, they forced her to marry a cripple and drove them out to live alone. If the Marquis knew about this, would they still have a chance to live? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. You can find all the novels that you can't find on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/116059784. HTML Genius remembered the website address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 75. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet. Dashuan's father, say something. What should we do? Mrs. Zhou was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot. She asked who in the Gu family treated Gu Jiao the worst. It was either Mrs. Wu or her. Of course, Mrs. Lu was not a good person, but Gu Xiaoshun took away half of her anger from Mrs. Lu. Mrs. Lu beat Gu Xiaoshun the most fiercely. There is a saying, anger rises from the heart and evil grows from the guts. When people are angry to the extreme, they can do anything. Similarly, when people are scared to the extreme, they can do anything to protect themselves. Gu Zhanghai immediately made a bold decision. Let you go. What? Mrs. Zhou was stunned. Madame Wu and Gu Changlu were also stunned. Did they hear it wrong? The first branch wanted to use their daughter to replace the Jiaonyang? Eldest brother, you can't. Gu Changlu was the first to object. Putting aside his guilt for the third branch, he was timid and could not do such a thing. Mrs. Lu was also not happy. It was not her daughter who was going to be the daughter of the Lord Protector. She did not enjoy the happiness, but followed the first branch in fear. No, Mrs. Wu and Mrs. Zhou did not say anything. One of them was Gu Yue's grandmother, and the other was Gu Yue's mother. They could directly benefit from it. Moreover, they were not timid. Gu Zhanghai began to persuade the second branch, second brother, second sister-in-law. If you don't think for yourselves, don't you think for Erzhan? Erzhan is also a very smart child, but Dasan was born before him and went to school first. The family could not support two children, so Urshuan's education was delayed. When Yuer goes to the Lord Protector's manor, I will definitely let her take Erzhan to the capital to study. With Urshuan's intelligence, how can he not make a name for himself? These words touched the bottom of Mrs. Lu's heart. Even in her dreams, Madame Lu wanted to bask in Second Shun's glory. She also firmly believed that Second Shun was someone who could make a name for himself. It was just that Gu Dasan had taken all the opportunities. Gu Chanhai said, "Third brother's child is not close to us, so we can't count on her. Besides, that child might be sent back by the Marquis's mansion. Don't expect the Marquis's household to compensate us with a sum of money. They also raised third brother's daughter, so we don't owe each other anything. If we really owe them anything, it's us who owe them. How much does the Marquis estate spend on third brother's daughter every year? How much do we spend on Jiao Nyang every year? If we really calculate it, don't we have to compensate them?" Hearing about the compensation, the second branch's expression changed. Gu Zhanghai continued, "But as long as Yuer goes there and puts in a good word for us, how can the Marquis's estate not go along with her? You watched Yi grow up. Don't you know what kind of person she is? She's closest to her second aunt." Mrs. Lu's back straightened. Gu Yue and Mrs. Lu's relationship was actually not very close, but Gu Yue was obedient, diligent, and had a soft personality. Mrs. Lu did not hate her, and she had never argued with her. Mrs. Zhou hurriedly chimed in, "Yes, she always tells me that she likes her second aunt the most. She also says that her second aunt is good-looking, much better than me." In the past, Mrs. Zhou would never admit that Mrs. Lu was prettier than her. But now, she had to coax Mrs. Lu. Mrs. Lu was successfully coaxed. She smiled embarrassedly. "Who doesn't like Yue?" After successfully persuading Mrs. Lu, Gu Zhanghai turned to look at Gu Changlu. "Second brother, I know that you don't like farming. You like doing business. When Yue goes to the Marquis's mansion, let her buy you the best shop in town. You can sell whatever you want." Gu Changlu was suddenly speechless. It was true that he felt guilty towards the third branch, but he really wanted to have his own business. "Father," Mrs. Lu said weakly. Gu Zhanghai knew the old man's character well. It was true that he was fickle to Gu Jiao. It was also true that he favored boys over girls. But if he really asked him to do such a bad thing, he might not do it. "I'll tell him later." Mrs. Lu curled her lips and said, "Then tell him, don't involve us." Gu Zhanghai grinned. "Don't worry, second sister-in-law. It's my idea. If the old man wants to scold someone, he will only scold me." "Will the Marquis's mansion be suspicious?" Gu Changlu suddenly asked. Gu Zhanghai smiled and said, "How can it be? Who would have guessed that we have such big courage? What's more, that person asked in the village before coming to the Gu family. He won't ask again." Mrs. Zhou said, "What about the blood test? I heard there is such a thing." Gu Zhanghai's smile deepened. "That's even easier. You, and third brother's daughter are blood relatives. When the time comes, let you think of a way to replace the blood in the Marquis's mansion with third brother's daughter's blood. Naturally, we can deceive everyone." Just like that, the family decided the life of Gu Jiao and Gu Yu. It was just like how they decided the life of Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang. They didn't even think about whether the person involved would agree or not. Gu Yu cried and didn't want to be a daughter. Mrs. Zhou and Mrs. Lu tried to persuade her, but she didn't listen. Gu Zhanghai slapped her and she became obedient. Mrs. Zhou changed her daughter into decent clothes. Mrs. Lu took out the jewelry that she took from Mrs. Su and put it on Gu Yu. Gu Zhanhai's slap just now didn't leave a mark on Gu Yuer's face. But because she cried, her eyes were red and swollen. Regarding this, the Gu family's explanation was that the little girl couldn't accept the fact and was a little sad. Huang Zhong felt that this was human nature. The kindness of giving birth was not as great as the kindness of raising. After so many years, they should have developed feelings for each other. But Huang Zhong didn't expect that the little girl who opened the door for him was his young miss. Just now, she was dressed even more shabbily and looked even more timid. Her movements were full of pettiness. Huang Zhong thought of the dignified and elegant Gu Jinyu and couldn't help but sigh. Gu Yuer kept crying. Huang Zhong couldn't bear it and said, "Master, Ho doesn't want to take you back immediately. He came today to see you first." "If you really can't bear to," Mrs. Wu hurriedly said, "no. It's right for the family to be reunited. What's there to be reluctant about? Master Ho is her biological father." Huang Zhong personally opened the curtain of the carriage and said, "Young miss, please get in the carriage." Gu Yuer didn't move. Mrs. Wu urged, "Go, you cough, Jianyang." Mrs. Zhou and Mrs. Liu helped Gu Yuer into the carriage. This was probably the first time Gu Yuer was valued by her family since she was born. The whole family treated her like a bodhisattva, but Gu Yuer couldn't feel happy. She didn't want to go to a strange place and didn't want to leave home. The whole family didn't care about Gu Yuer's life or death. They all started to have their own big dreams. Gu Zhanhai urged, "It's getting late. Go early and come back early." If they didn't leave now, old Master Ho would come back and Gu Yuer wouldn't be able to leave. What they didn't expect was that Huang Zhong and Gu Yuer didn't meet old Master Ho, but met Gu Xiaoshun, who had just returned from the academy. Gu Xiaoshun walked back casually, swinging his bag as he walked. Gu Zhanhai's eyebrows jumped. "Xiaoshun, why are you back so early?" Xiao Lulang went to the provincial capital to take the prefectural examination. Gu Xiaoshun didn't need to take second Uncle Luo's ox cart. He walked back himself. Walking on foot was much faster than an ox cart. At this time, Huang Zhong's carriage was almost out of the village. Mrs. Zhou said, "It's okay. He can't see." Gu Yuer was sitting in the carriage. Gu Xiaoshun couldn't lift the curtain with his hands. Could he? Digression, you can't do anything. Your hands are #1 _ the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/11602496. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 76. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. The Gu family might have forgotten that Gu Xiaoshun grew up with bad hands. Because of this, he had been beaten by the Lu family since he was a child. When the carriage passed by Gu Xiaoshun casually waved his hand. Gu Yue? Gu Yue was only 2 months younger than Gu Jiao. According to reason, she should be Gu Xiaoshun's older sister, but Gu Xiaoshun only called her by her first name. Gu Yue immediately panicked. Although she didn't want to leave home, she was more afraid of being beaten by her father if she failed. Huang Zhong stopped the carriage. He jumped out of the carriage and came in front of Gu Xiaoshun. He took the curtain from Gu Xiaoshun's hand and coldly asked, "Where did this brat come from?" Gu Xiaoshun was wearing Tianxiang Academy's uniform, but every strand of hair on his body seemed to be indecent. After studying for so long, People seemed to forget that he was the #1 bully in the surrounding area. Just now he saw Guyu-e crying in the carriage. He suddenly had a bad guess in his heart. Guyu-e had reached the age of marriage. His family was worried about Guyu-e's marriage. The Gu family didn't like the poor ones, and the Gu family didn't want the good ones. This rotten old man. Could it be that he wanted to buy Guyu-e to be his concubine? Gu Xiaoxuan's bad temper rose. You don't even know your grandfather, Xiaoxun, and you dare to come to the Gu family to steal someone? Yu-e, get out of the carriage. Guyu-e didn't move. Gu Xiaoxun stepped into the carriage and was about to pull Guyu-e down. Huang Zhong was a martial artist. How could he let a brat steal someone from his hands? He grabbed Gu Xiaoxuan's arm and coldly said, "Brat, if you have something to say, then say it." Gu Xiaoxun unhappily said, "How much money did my uncle ask you? You even sold your own daughter?" "What do you mean by your uncle's daughter?" "She was the daughter of the 3rd branch of the Gu family, Gu Jiao's mother." "Wait, you're a member of the Gu family?" Huang Zhong was suddenly startled, as if something was wrong. At this time, Gu Zhanghai, Madame Zhou, and Madame Lu arrived breathlessly. Gu Zhanghai said sternly, "Xiaoxun, get over here." Gu Xiaoxun ignored Gu Zhanghai and looked at Huang Zhong strangely. She lifted the curtain with one hand and pointed at Gu Yuao with the other. "Are you stupid? I don't know my sister. Open your dog eyes and take a good look. She is the daughter of the Gu clan's 1st branch, Gu Yue." It was a sunny day, and the streets of the town were bustling with activity. Marquis Gu sat in a room on the 2nd floor of the tea house, sipping tea as he listened to the carriage driver's report. The window beside his hand was wide open, and the sunlight and noise came in together. Unlike the bustle in the capital, the town was more lively with the local customs. "We went to the village. The family there also had the surname Gu," the driver said. As this was a serious matter, Marquis Gu only used people he trusted, and the driver was no exception. The coachman told him everything he had heard from the Gu family. When he heard that the other party's surname was also Gu, Marquis Gu's reaction was not very big. But when he heard that the child was indeed the baby girl who was carried away by mistake, Marquis Gu's cup fell on the table with a clang. The driver was frightened. "Marquis, are you okay?" He thought that he would be very calm after finding his long-lost child, but he was a little nervous. He asked, "Where is she?" The driver said, "She's on the way. Bodyguard Huang asked me to inform you in advance, and he will bring her here in a while." Marquis Gu was a little excited. He straightened his clothes and asked the driver, "Do I look okay?" The driver was stunned. You're not looking at her face." Marquis Gu's face darkened. "I'm asking you if you'll scare the child." The driver trembled. Marquis Gu took a deep breath and suppressed his ferocious expression. In fact, there was nothing to worry about. Jinyu liked him very much, so the child would definitely like him too. The main thing was that he was afraid that he would scare the child away if he was too imposing. Time seemed to slow down. Marquis Gu gradually could not sit still upstairs, so he simply got up and went downstairs. He had just taken 2 steps out of the tea house when he bumped into a glutinous rice ball who was holding some snacks. The little glutinous rice ball cried out and fell face down on the ground. The box of snacks in his hand fell out and a drop rolled out. The little glutinous rice ball was stunned when he saw that the snacks he bought with great difficulty were gone. "What's wrong, Jing Kong?" Gu Jiao came over with a candied hawthorn nearby. When she saw the little guy lying on the ground with a confused face, she hurriedly went forward and lifted him up. Little Jing Kong looked at Gu Jiao and then looked at the osmanthus cake scattered all over the ground. He pouted and tears welled up in his big eyes. The osmanthus cake is gone. Today was the first time little Jing Kong came to town. It was the first time he saw so many people, and also the first time he queued up to buy osmanthus cake. He cherished it so much that he could not bear to eat a single one. In the end, it was gone just like that. Gu Jiao looked at the osmanthus cake on the ground and asked little Jing Kong, "Are you hurt? Are you hurt anywhere?" Little Jing Kong covered his little heart and said with an aggrieved face, "I'm hurt here." Gu Jiao was speechless. This was the osmanthus cake from Li Ji. They queued for more than an hour before they could buy it. The little guy was sad. But did you have to be so dramatic? You even put on an act? Gu Jiao wiped his little hands with a handkerchief. Be careful next time. I'm very careful. It's not my fault. He bumped into me. After little Jing Kong said that, he raised his hand and pointed at Marquis Gu, who did not know whether to leave or stay. Strictly speaking, he did leave in a hurry. Little Jing Kong did not move at that time. He held the snacks under the eaves and waited for Gu Jiao to buy him sugar-coated haws. However, Marquis Gu did not do it on purpose. Little Jing Kong was too short and he did not see him at first. When he was about to ask someone to carry little Jing Kong away, Gu Jiao appeared. Why is this girl everywhere? Marquis Gu was puzzled. Gu Jiao looked at Marquis Gu coldly. Marquis Gu felt a little guilty under her sharp gaze, but it was impossible for him, a marquis, to apologize to a child. He coughed softly and said seriously, "Who asked him to block the way? You brought a child out. Why didn't you keep an eye on him?" "All right, I'm in a good mood today, so I'll forgive you. This amount of silver is enough to buy 100 boxes of osmanthus cakes." After saying that, he took out a silver ingot and threw it on the ground in front of the two. Ordinary people would have kowed out to thank him for the reward when they saw so much silver ingot. However, Gu Jiao and little Jing Kong did not move. Marquis Gu glanced at them coldly. "Oh, as you wish." After saying that, he strode away. His clothes were either rich or expensive. Naturally, no one dared to speak up for Gu Jiao and little Jing Kong. However, just as he brushed past Gu Jiao gently stretched out her foot and tripped him. He was caught off guard and fell flat on the ground. He was instantly angry. He turned his head and stared at Gu Jiao fiercely. "Stupid girl, do you want to die?" Gu Jiao returned his words to him word for word. "Who asked you to block the way?" After tripping him, Gu Jiao turned and left with little Jing Kong. Marquis Gu was really angry this time. Coincidentally, the county magistrate passed by with the Yaman's constables. Marquis Gu was so angry that he asked the county magistrate to arrest them. Digression. Marquis of this chapter. Ha ha. Marquis of the next chapter. Whoa whoop, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/115990461. HTML Genius remembered the website address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 77. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. As soon as the magistrate left, Huang Zhong arrived. Marquis, why are you here alone? Where's the child? I was almost fooled. The one from the Gu family isn't. Huang Zhong told him the whole story of how the Gu family had substituted one person for another. Fortunately, we met Brother Xiao Shun. Otherwise, we would have made another mistake. Marquis Gu was furious. Very good. These people don't want to live anymore. I'll deal with them later. I asked you a question. Are you deaf? Marquis Gu glared at Huang Zhong. Huang Zhong pursed his lips. Weren't they still hesitating at the beginning about whether or not to recognize her? Why are they so anxious now? Huang Zhong took out a lifelike wooden carving. Brother Xiaoshun gave it to me. He said this is the young miss. The wooden carving from last time was given to the old mother of the headmaster. After that, Gu Xiaoshun carved a new one, But he didn't have time to give it to Gu Jiao. Huang Zhong learned his lesson this time and didn't tell Gu Xiaoshan the truth. He only said that his master had received a favor from his sister and wanted to invite her to town to thank her. Gu Xiaoshan was afraid that they would thank the wrong person again, so he gave the wooden carving to him. Marquis Gu felt that the wooden carving looked a little familiar. It's missing something. Huang Zhong searched his chest again and took out a small piece of dough. He smacked it on the left side of the wooden carving's face. Brother Xiaoshan said that the young miss has a red birthmark on her face. Red birthmark. Marquis Gu finally understood why the wooden carving looked familiar. Wasn't this the stinky girl he had just ordered to be taken away? Did you make a mistake? Marquis Gu frowned. There's no mistake this time. In order to verify the authenticity of the wooden carving, Huang Zhong had checked with the villagers. It was the real child of the Gu family's third branch. Marquis Gu felt as if lightning had struck his head, and his whole body began to sway. Huang Zhong noticed his master's strange behavior and asked worriedly, Marquis, what's wrong? Don't tell me you don't like Mrs. Appearance? Xiaoshuan's brother said that although she has a birthmark, it's not ugly at all. Beauty was in the eye of the beholder, and fairies were in the eyes of the younger brother. Gu Xiaoshan had never thought that his sister was ugly. Huang Zhong was just listening to Marquis Gu's words when the next second, Marquis Gu disappeared. Naturally, Marquis Gu had gone to chase after Gu Jiao. He had not expected that the brat was the child he had been searching so hard for. It's over. He had personally sent him to prison. Whether or not he would recognize her was another matter altogether. He was afraid that when the time came, it would be difficult to ask her for her blood as a guiding drug. When Marquis Gu arrived at the county yamen, Magistrate Liu and his entourage had also just arrived. Just now, he had revealed his identity so that the county magistrate obeyed his orders. When the county magistrate saw him, he hurriedly went forward to salute him. However, Marquis Gu didn't even look at him and walked towards a carriage where Gu Jiao and Gu Ruyin were being held. Something unexpected happened. The carriage was empty, and there was not a single person in it. Marquis Gu's eyes widened. Where is she? Magistrate Liu was also dumbfounded. That's right, where is she? He had seen her and the child get into the carriage with his own eyes. They had not stopped along the way, so how could they have disappeared? Could it be that the brat was a hidden expert? Magistrate Liu wiped away his cold sweat. This official has failed in his duty. This official will immediately send people to capture her. She will be punished. Let's see if she dares to escape. A mere 9th rank official dared to punish the bloodline of the Marquis's household? Marquis Gu scolded, dog official. You even captured 2 children. You even want to punish them. Why don't you go to heaven? Magistrate Liu was dumbfounded. Didn't you tell this official to capture them? Marquis Gu kicked him. You'll capture them just because I told you to? Who is the real official of the people? You don't seek justice for the people. You don't stand up for the people. You only know how to curry favor and curry favor. What's the use of having you? Magistrate Liu, who was flustered by the wind, was speechless. The last ray of the setting sun disappeared into the horizon. The sky was gray and half dark. Gu Jiao held little Jing Kong's hand and walked on the quiet street at a moderate pace. Although there was no osmanthus cake, there was still candied haws. Little Jing Kong was small, but he was not timid. The series of events just now did not scare him at all. He licked the candied haws very seriously. Gu Jiao paused and could not help but ask him, "Are you afraid?" Little Jing Kong stopped licking the candied haws and looked at Gu Jiao with his big eyes. After a while, he understood what she meant. "I'm not afraid." He said so. Gu Jiao nodded. It was good that he was not afraid. The first principle that Gu Jiao learned was the way of survival. She did not care much about whether people were good or bad. However, after having little Jing Kong, she began to care about it. It did not seem good to let a child learn how to escape from prison. Gu Jiao was thinking about how to educate little Jing Kong when little Jing Kong shook her hand. "Jiao Jiao, you're very powerful. Gu Jiao thought that he was talking about a child. Little Jing Kong said, I want to be very powerful too. I want to be more powerful than Jiao Jiao. Then Jiao Jiao won't need to be powerful. Gu Jiao paused and looked at him in confusion. Little Jing Kong raised his head and looked into Gu Jiao's eyes with his clear eyes. Jiao Jiao must be very hard, right? Master said that powerful people have suffered a lot, and they will continue to suffer a lot in the future. In fact, he did not understand why people had to suffer when they became powerful. Master said that it was because powerful people were destined to go up the mountain. Those who went up the mountain had to suffer, so they had to go down the mountain to be comfortable. This was the first time that someone asked Gu Jiao if it was hard. She joined the organization when she was 8 years old. She was whipped, electrocuted, tortured. Every day, she almost went into shock. People only cared about whether she could take on the next mission. No one cared about whether she was hard or not. Gu Jiao did not know how to answer for a moment. Little Jing Kong thought about what happened just now and lowered his head. Did I make Jiao Jiao feel tired? Gu Jiao did not expect him to say that. Gu Jiao touched his little bald head. No, it's not hard to raise Little Jing Kong at all. Really? Little Jing Kong looked at her blankly. Gu Jiao saw a trace of hesitation in his eyes. This heartless little guy was actually more vulnerable than anyone else. Gu Jiao nodded firmly. Yes, it's true. Little Jing Kong smiled again. He patted his little chest and said solemnly, Jiao Jiao, wait for me to grow up. When I grow up, I'll carry you up the mountain. If powerful people had to go up the mountain, then he would carry Jiao Jiao up the mountain. Jiao Jiao did not need to walk. He would bear the hardships of Jiao Jiao. Gu Jiao did not understand what he meant by going up the mountain and going down the mountain, but she felt the little guy's concern. She squatted down and gently scratched the tip of his little nose. At this time, Gu Jiao did not know that someone had really fulfilled the promise that he made when he was 3.5 years old. This cute little ball of rice actually became such a majestic, immortal general one day. In the 6 countries in the world, no one dared to make her suffer anymore. When they returned to the village, little Jing Kong had already fallen asleep. He was lying in Gu Jiao's arms and drooling. There was a carriage parked at the entrance of the village. Gu Jiao did not pay attention to it, but when she approached the carriage, she saw a person standing beside it. It was none other than Marquis Gu, who ordered her and little Jing Kong to be taken to prison. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find on the internet. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_896/1159583551. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 78. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels can be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found online can be found here. There was no one beside Marquis Gu except for his guard, Huang Zhong. Gu Jiao ruled out the possibility that he was here to catch her. But if he wasn't here to catch her, why would he be here? Gu Jiao didn't have a good impression of this Marquis who looked down on commoners like ants. She hugged little Jing Kong tightly and looked at him warily. If he dared to do anything to hurt them, she didn't mind taking his life here. Marquis Gu saw Gu Jiao's hostility. He coughed lightly and said seriously, I'm not here to catch you. I have no ill intentions. Gu Jiao didn't care about this and continued to look at him warily. Marquis Gu's feelings were very complicated. On one hand, he couldn't accept that this girl who had tricked him time and time again was his long-lost flesh and blood. On the other hand, he couldn't bear to look back on their interactions. But no matter what, since he was here, he had to make things clear. Marquis Gu gave Huang Zhong a look, and Huang Zhong retreated. Marquis Gu flicked his wide sleeves and said, "My surname is Gu. I'm Marquis Ding and of the Hot Spring Villa." Gu Jiao had guessed his identity long ago. When they first met, Gu Jinyu was sitting in his carriage. She recognized Gu Jinyu's voice. It seemed unlikely that there was a second person who could sit in Gu Jinyu's carriage and call himself Marquis. After meeting him in the forest, she looked at his face up close. It was a face that was very similar to Gu Yan's. If he said that he was not Gu Yan's biological father, she was afraid that she would not believe it. But he didn't say anything, and Gu Jiao didn't point it out. Marquis Gu said, "Today's matter," Gu Jiao interrupted him. "If you're here to apologize, there's no need. I don't care." Marquis Gu glared at her. "No, how can you say that? How can you be so impudent?" He did come with a trace of guilt, but he was the Marquis. How could he apologize to a girl? Didn't she know that there were no parents in this world? Her parents were gone. Ahem. He and Yao Shi had indeed not taught her. Gu Sanlang and Su Shi had left early, so they didn't have the time to teach her. I heard that she used to be a fool, and that she got over it recently. Thinking of this, Marquis Gu felt that he could be more lenient with her. He suppressed his boiling anger and said to her, "I came to find you because I have something to tell you. You might not believe me, but you and psych, why can't I say it out loud?" Marquis Gu was worried. "What do I have with you?" No matter how hard Gu Jiao racked her brains, she couldn't think of any relationship between this man and herself. However, she had lived for 2 lifetimes and had seen all kinds of weirdos. "Don't tell me you have some kind of weird fetish and like me?" Although her face was damaged, she was still young. Some men had such strong tastes. Marquis Gu stumbled and almost fell into the well in front of him. What kind of person did this girl think he was? How could she slander her own father like this? Marquis Gu's temper that he had suppressed with great difficulty came back up. "Do you know who I am?" "I am you." A quarter of an hour later, Marquis Gu limped back to the carriage with a bruised face. Huang Zhong walked over and was stunned. "Marquis, you were beaten? You weren't beaten by the young miss, right? You can't even beat the young miss?" Marquis Gu roared like a storm. I didn't want to argue with her. He wouldn't admit that he couldn't beat her. This was too tragic. Huang Zhong couldn't bear to look at it. He had followed the Marquis for more than 10 years and had never seen him in such a sorry state. Huang Zhong asked, "Young miss hit you so hard? Didn't you tell her that you are her father?" When this was mentioned, Marquis Gu became even angrier. "Why didn't you tell her?" Huang Zhong didn't understand. "What did you say?" Marquis Gu was filled with righteous indignation. "I said I am her father. She said I scolded her, and then she beat me up." And she beat him up very badly. Marquis Gu had never been wronged like this since he was a child. "Huang Zhong, why don't you say you are her father? Is the word father too hot to use?" After beating him up, Gu Jiao carried little Jing Kong, who was sleeping soundly, home. Xiao Lulang was not at home. He had gone to the provincial capital to take an exam and would only be back next month. The house seemed to have become quiet with one person missing. In fact, Xiao Lulang was very quiet at home. She stayed in his room most of the time. However, when Gu Jiao opened the door of the west room and didn't see the young man reading at the desk, she suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. Gu Jiao put little Jing Kong on the bed and pulled the quilt over him. Then she went to the kitchen to cook dinner. Little Jing Kong had eaten his fill in town. Gu Jiao didn't wake him up and sat in the central room with the old lady to eat. Gu Jiao asked, Xiao Shun didn't come over?" Gu Xiao Shun returned to the old house every night after dinner. He said he would stay at the academy for a while, the old lady said as she picked up a piece of braised pork. Without Lulang and little silly girl, the braised pork was no longer delicious. Gu Jiao asked strangely, why did he suddenly go to the academy? The old lady said, "I don't know. He left in a hurry. Gu Xiaoshun ruined the Gu family's plans. Gu Zhanghai, his wife, and the Lu matriarch wanted to beat him to death. In order to avoid trouble, he stayed at the academy overnight. The academy didn't allow outsiders to enter. The only Gu family member who could enter was Gu Dashun. The Gu family could let Gu Dashun beat him up if they wanted, but Gu Dashun couldn't beat him. I'll send him some money tomorrow. Gu Jiao was worried that Gu Xiaoshun wouldn't have enough money to eat. I'll give it to him, the old lady said. Where did you get the money? Gu Jiao asked. The old lady was very down and out when she first came to the house. She didn't even have a copper coin, let alone silver. During the new year, Gu Jiao gave her a big red packet, but it was in silver notes. The old lady snorted. Did I tell you for nothing? Gu Jiao was stunned. Did the old lady start a side business at home? The old lady said without changing her expression. And your medicine. Since you don't want it anymore, I'll sell it all. Gu Jiao asked strangely, what medicine? The old lady said, golden sore medicine. You've been messing around at home for a few days. Do you think I don't know? Gu Jiao said, oh, you know. She made the medicine during the day. Xiao Lulang wasn't at home. Although the old lady was, she didn't expect the old lady to know about the golden sore medicine. So she didn't hide it from her. She had high requirements for medicine. She made more than a dozen bottles, and only kept the 3 bottles with the best effect. She didn't care that the rest of the bottles were missing. She thought the old lady threw them away. Who would have thought that the old lady secretly sold them? Gu Jiao heard the old lady's tone and said, have you done this before? You mean selling medicine? Oh, maybe. But I don't think I'm selling golden sore medicine. The old lady thought about it seriously and found a name from her few memories. It seems to be an aphrodisiac. Gu Jiao, according to later records, the virtuous empress sold aphrodisiac to the imperial concubines and took bribes to control the green head card. The virtuous empress's last words were, don't talk about feelings with me, the emperor. The highest bidder will sleep. Digression. The Virtuous Empress was the title of the Empress Dowager. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/115928088. HTML Genius memorized this site's address. www.zhbqg.com Biku Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 79. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels with a deeper meaning that cannot be found online are all available here. After dinner, Gu Jiao tidied up the house and went to the west room to put a blanket over little Jing Kong. Then, she went back to her room to sleep. 2 months had passed since the last time she had a dream. Gu Jiao had not had a dream since then. Unexpectedly, she had a dream again that night. However, she did not dream of Xiao Lulang, but of herself. She dreamed that she had become the daughter of the Gu family and met Gu Jinyu from the hot spring villa. She also dreamed that they had returned to the capital together. She moved into a richly ornamented house. There were more than 10 servants serving her every day. There were also family members who doted on her that she had never met before. The servants respectfully called her Miss Gu, but the good times did not last long. Gu Jinyu was beautiful, demure, and elegant. She was educated and well-spoken. On the other hand, she was ugly, uncouth, illiterate, and clumsy with her speech. Compared to Gu Jinyu, she was a complete joke. Everyone said that the Gu family had brought back a wild girl from the countryside. The servants started to mock her. The daughters started to distance themselves from her. Even the family members who used to dote on her did not seem to know how to face her. In order to get back what was rightfully hers, she did some bad things under the instigation of others. This caused everyone to be extremely disappointed in her. In the end, she was sent to a villa outside the capital. She was depressed and heartbroken every day. Finally, she died of an illness in the cold winter. When Gu Jiao woke up, she wondered why she had such a dream. When she dreamed about Xiao Lulang, she knew that it would happen. However, it was different when it happened to her. It was not because of anything else. It was because the her in the dream was not her at all. She was not ignorant and incompetent, nor was she clumsy with her speech. She did not care about what others thought of her. She would not be jealous of Gu Jinyu. She would not be instigated by others. She would not use those stupid tricks on Gu Jinyu either. If she really wanted to kill someone, she would do it more cleanly than wiping the floor. As for being heartbroken because he couldn't get the love of his family, that was even more ridiculous. So, why did she have such a wild dream? Was there something wrong with his brain? On the other hand, Xiao Lulang and Feng Lin's carriage had finally arrived at the prefectural city, Ping City, after a long and arduous journey. They didn't arrive early, and the inns next to the examination hall were all full. They settled for the next best thing, and chosen in one street away. 2 taels of silver for a room was simply asking for a sky-high price. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Who asked the examinees to wait? He could only obediently hand over the silver. When the capital examination was over, the first batch of failed candidates would leave, and the price would drop by half. When the academy envoys were also over, the price would drop by another half. Feng Lin and the coachman ate something unclean on the road and had a stomachache. Luckily, Gu Jiao had prepared some diarrhea medicine. Xiao Lulang was fine, but he was not used to sleeping every night. 2 days later, the capital examination began. The location of the capital examination was at the Ping City Examination Hall. The examinees enter the hall at 5 a.m., different from examination documents of the county examination. The examination documents of the capital examination were given to each examinee. The examination documents were called examination documents by the prefectural government. The examinee's name, examination shed, and seat number were written on it. There were 4 examination sheds in the examination hall in Ping City. Sheds were mostly for the top examinees in the county examination, and Xiao Lulang was also in one of them. The big examination shed was divided into numerous small examination rooms. Each examinee had one room. The space was not big, but there was a desk, a cushion, and a narrow wooden bed. Other than the examination documents, the examinees were not allowed to bring in anything else. The examinees' brushes, ink, paper, and inkstone were all provided by the examination hall. In addition, there were also 3 meals a day and a blanket for the night. If the examinees were tired, they could rest at any time. As long as they did not cheat or violate the rules of the examination hall, no one would interfere even if they slept there for 4 days and 4 nights. The capital examination did not have a one-off situation. Therefore, the examinees had to obediently complete the 3 rounds of examination. Other than when they went to the toilet, they were not allowed to leave the examination hall. Once they left, regardless of the situation, they could not return to the examination hall. The first round was on the scriptures. The scriptures for the capital examination required the examinees to know at least 3 scriptures. The classic of filial piety and the Analects of Confucius were a must. The rest of the examinees could choose from the Book of Songs and the Rites of Zhou and write from memory according to the designated paragraph. This seemed simple, but one had to know that other than the classic of filial piety, which only had 2,369 words, the other 3 scriptures added up to more than 90,000 words. Even if the Rites of Zhou, which had the most words, was removed, there were still more than 50,000 words. The amount of memorization was huge. The number of questions for the scriptures was also very large. The fastest one could finish writing, would be in the afternoon. Usually, there would be people handing in their papers one after another at dusk. Xiao Lulang only wrote for an hour before he stopped writing and went to sleep. His paper was covered under the white paper and pressed down with an inkstone. The invigilator was stunned. Was he finished? No, this was impossible. No one could answer so quickly, unless he had memorized the scriptures so well that he could write without thinking. This was not something that an ordinary genius could do. Who did he think he was? The former young chancellor? The young Marquis of Jiaodu? The invigilator felt that he most likely would not be able to answer, so he simply gave up writing. He was even the county examination's top case examinee. He was really an embarrassment to their county. After the examination, there was a person who came up to collect the papers. He would first paste the name and then put it into a special box. Even the invigilator was not able to see the paper. When they saw it, the name had already been masked, so they would not know which paper belonged to which examinee. Maybe it was because Xiao Lulang had left a deep impression on the invigilator in the first round. For the next 2 rounds, the invigilator also paid special attention to him. The second round of essays tested the examinee's ability to write. There were not many restrictions on the wording and style of writing. It could be considered the easiest round of the 3 rounds. Xiao Lulang only wrote for an hour before he covered his paper and went to sleep. Can you not give up on yourself like this? Essays are so simple. You don't even know how to write this? How did you become the county examination's top case examinee? Are the examinees of this batch so useless? The last round was an 8-part essay. It took 2 days to complete, which showed how difficult it was. Especially this time, the questions were personally set by Provincial Governor Zhuang from the capital. Provincial Governor Zhuang had taken 2 completely unrelated sentences from the Analects of Confucius. Poverty without flattery, wealth without arrogance, quick to handle matters but cautious in speech. He had the examinees forcefully put them together to solve the question. In less than a quarter of an hour, 2 examinees collapsed from the pressure. They were carried out, and the exam was cancelled. The invigilator secretly cursed. Such a difficult exam. Why didn't you give this grandpa a paw? He thought that Xiao Lulang would give up and go to sleep in less than an hour. Who knew that he would sit there without moving? Poverty without flattery, wealth without arrogance, quick to handle matters but cautious in speech. Why did Sir Zhuang give such a difficult assignment? Hung, help me do it. The young girl's bright smile flashed through his mind. It was vivid in his mind, as if it had happened yesterday. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are also updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/896422_89642826/115888388. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 80. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels that cannot be found on the internet are all available here. On the evening of the 4th day, the exam ended. Feng Lin had been waiting here since early in the morning. After waiting for an entire day, the other examinees came out one after another. Only Xiao Lulang was nowhere to be seen. He could not help but worry. Just as he was wondering if he should ask the people inside, he saw Xiao Lulang come out with a cold expression. Feng Lin hurriedly went up to him and found that his complexion was not good. He asked, "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Or did you not do well?" "It's nothing," Xiao Lulang said lightly. Feng Lin heard that his voice was fine and thought that it should not be a problem with his body. He comforted him. I just heard from the examinees that this time's exam questions were especially difficult. Don't be discouraged, they might not even do as well as you. Let's go back to the inn, Xiao Lulang said as he turned around and walked in the direction of the inn. Feng Lin wanted to say something, but stopped. He had never seen Xiao Lulang like this before. Even though he had always been cold, he was not so cold that he did not dare to approach him. Xiao Lulang's body was filled with a chilling aura, as if he would do something terrible in the next second. Lulang, wait for me. Although Feng Lin was afraid, he still gritted his teeth and chased after him. He did not call him Brother Xiao anymore. After all, he was older than Xiao Lulang. The reason he called him Brother Xiao was because Xiao Lulang had saved him. But the two of them had spent New Year's Eve together and had a strong friendship. If he continued to call him Brother Xiao, it would be too distant. Xiao Lulang used his walking stick and did not walk as fast as Feng Lin. Feng Lin caught up with him in a short while. The two of them went back to the inn together. When they passed by a tea house, two middle-aged men wearing brocade clothes walked out. One of them inadvertently glanced at Xiao Lulang. At first, he didn't pay much attention to it, but he suddenly realized something and turned his head to look at Xiao Lulang. At this moment, Xiao Lulang and Feng Lin had already crossed the street and were heading towards the inn on the other side. His eyes followed Xiao Lulang's back until he completely disappeared around the corner. Lord Zhuang, what's wrong? Did you see someone familiar? Do you want me to go and greet them? The person who asked the question was the governor of Pingcheng, surnamed Luo. Zhuang Xianji shook his head. There's no need. He's not an acquaintance of mine. We just look similar. The young marquis was already dead. He had personally dug out the young marquis corpse from the ruins of the directorate. The corpse had already been burned into a charred corpse by the fire. No matter how much time had passed, he would never be able to forget that tragic sight. Or perhaps they didn't look alike at all, but he was just seeing things. Looking at the young marquis's appearance and talent, it was impossible to find a second person like him in the entire 6 nations. Do you need me to confirm it? Governor Luo saw that Lord Zhuang seemed to be very concerned about the person who had mistaken him for someone else. He couldn't help but suggest that he go and take a look. Zhuang Xianji shook his head again. There's no need. That acquaintance has already passed away. There was no need to confirm if it was a dead person. Xiao Lulang and Feng Lin returned to the inn. As soon as they entered, they heard someone shouting, Feng Duanzi. Feng Lin's hair stood on end. The shadow of his childhood instantly appeared on top of his head. He was no longer the Duanzi from back then. He had lost weight. Feng Lin looked over and saw a scholarly-looking youth rushing down the stairs excitedly. He came to Feng Lin and said with a smile, It's really you, Feng Duanzi. You're good. You've changed so much that I almost couldn't recognize you. Who is he? The youth's gaze landed on Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang was even better looking than a girl. People couldn't help but take a few more glances at him. Moreover, he wasn't afraid of being beaten up by Feng Lin. Just now, the youth was first attracted by Xiao Lulang before noticing Feng Lin, who was beside Xiao Lulang. Feng Lin also recognized the youth and said in surprise, Du Ruhan. The youth smiled and patted Feng Lin's shoulder. It's me. It's really you. Feng Lin also smiled and introduced him to Xiao Lulang. Lulang, do you still remember him? Little Tummy. The 3 of us went to private school together when we were young. The youth looked at Xiao Lulang in disbelief. After a while he said to Feng Lin, You must have mistaken him for someone else. He's not Lulang. Feng Lin said with certainty, I'm not mistaken. It's Lulang. The youth looked at Xiao Lulang suspiciously. That little Lulang, who moved away after staying for a year? Feng Lin said, Yes, it's him. Less than 2 years after he moved away, your family moved away too. Now that I think about it, we haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. The youth still felt that the other party was not Xiao Lulang. He said to Feng Lin, If I can recognize you, why can't I recognize him? Little Lu Lang was not that good looking. Actually, Feng Lin did not recognize Xiao Lu Lang at first glance. It was only when he saw Xiao Liulang's travel permit that he knew that he was his childhood neighbor. In addition, Xiao Lu Lang had saved his life, so he had no doubts about Xiao Liulang's identity. As for Xiao Lu Lang not remembering the past, that was normal. It had been more than 10 years. Xiao Lu Lang was not even 7 years old when he moved away. What could a 6 or 7-year-old kid remember? That kid was very timid when he was young. He always hid behind his mother. Xiao Lu Lang went upstairs first. The youth and Feng Lin followed behind and whispered. The youth was the one who spoke. Lu Lang is different now. He is very brave. He even saved me. Feng Lin said. He is different. The youth glanced at Xiao Liulang's back. He felt that the other party had the aura of a young master from the capital. This aura was hard to detect if one had not seen it before. What's wrong with his leg? The youth asked in a bad mood in front of Xiao Lu Lang. Half a year ago, he was injured while saving me. He is now receiving treatment. Feng Lin said guiltily and asked, speaking of which, where did you go after you moved away? I went to the capital. The youth said. Feng Lin's eyes widened. You went to the capital? It was Feng Lin's dream to go to the capital. Unfortunately, the capital was heavily guarded. For commoners like them, unless they were going to the capital for the exam, it was impossible to get a travel permit to the capital. The youth chuckled. My aunt is a concubine in the capital. She brought our whole family over. Now, are you still jealous? Feng Lin did not say anything. The youth laughed. I lied to you. Let's go. The three of them ate dinner together. From the youth, Feng Lin found out that he was studying in a famous academy in the capital. 2 years ago, he passed the exam and was preparing for the provincial exam in August. This time, he was traveling with his uncle to broaden his horizons. Throughout the meal, only the youth and Feng Lin conversed. Xiao Lu Lang was a man of few words and did not like to talk to others. This kid was not like this before. After Xiao Lu Lang returned to the house, the youth pulled Feng Lin aside and whispered. Feng Lin said softly, his mother and brother have passed away. It has not been easy for him these years. Oh. The youth did not say anything else. After a while, he changed the topic. You are going to take the exam this year, right? I will wait for you in the capital. Feng Lin thought for a while and said, I will take the exam with Lu Lang. The youth pursed his lips. How do you know he will pass? That kid's brain is not good. Have you forgotten that he was scolded by the teacher? Even if he could not remember how Xiao Lu Lang looked like when he was young, the youth did not forget Xiao Liulang's embarrassing past. He was not stupid. It was just that his reaction time was slower than others. This kind of person could work, but study would be difficult. Feng Lin said seriously, Lu Lang is different now. He passed the county exam, and this time, although the questions are difficult, I believe he will pass the exam. The youth laughed evilly. Let's make a bet. He will not pass. Feng Lin decisively asked him to leave. No one could look down on Xiao Lu Lang, not even his childhood friends. After being chased out of the inn by Feng Lin, the young man no longer had the mood to stroll around. Bored, he returned to the governor's office. When the guards saw him, they respectfully opened the door for him. As soon as he stepped into the courtyard, he was stopped in his tracks by a stern voice. Where have you been? Why are you back so late? The young man turned around embarrassedly, smiled, and said, Hello, uncle. Didn't you go to mark the exam papers? How did you finish so quickly? Provincial Governor Zhuang sternly said, Don't change the topic. I'm asking you, where have you been? The youth laughed dryly. I met 2 of my old neighbors in Song County and chatted with them for a while. Dinner. I also ate with them. Provincial Governor Zhuang coldly said, Do you think I will believe you? Did you go and do something indecent again? I promised your aunt to bring you out, not to let you idle around. Guards, lock him in the room. Without my orders, he is not allowed to take half a step out. The youth cried out, I didn't. Uncle. I really went to meet some friends. They are staying at Ulin. One of them is called Fong Lin. The other is called Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang is this year's examinee. He just finished your perverted exam questions today. His face turned green. If you don't believe me, you can send someone to check. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/115852814. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 81. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that cannot be found online will be available here. After hearing this, Du Ruhan knew that there was no hope for him today. He hated his mouth. Why did he speak the truth at such a critical moment? Sure enough, when Governor Luo came to mediate the fight, Du Ruohan had already been served by Zhuang Xianji to the point that even his parents couldn't recognize him. Governor Luo asked awkwardly and respectfully, Sir, should we investigate those two people? Zhuang Xianji rejected him immediately. Is that fellow telling the truth? Governor Luo's mouth twitched. Young master, Du said that the questions you set were perverted. He was telling the truth. Gu Jiao knew nothing about what happened in Pingcheng. She was on the way to the hot spring villa. This morning, Second Master came to her personally and told her about this month's consultation. Although I know that we were talking about consultation, you know young Master Gu's situation. It is indeed inconvenient for him to go out. Second Master did not know that Gu Yan had come to see her not long ago, and that she had already given him a follow-up consultation. Gu Jiao paused. Okay. Second Master was stunned. She was so easy to talk to? I have been holding back all this time. Was it all for nothing? The weather was good, and the carriage moved quickly. They arrived at the villa in less than 2 hours. The attitude of the people in the villa towards them had changed greatly. Although the guards still looked serious, they were very polite. The servant who came to pick them up was the same person as last time. Her name was Yu Ya-er. Yu Ya-er led Gu Jiao, the second boss, and the old doctor to a pavilion near the small garden. The young master is soaking in the hot spring. Please wait for a moment. I will go and report to the young master. The hot spring was closer to the pavilion. Yu Ya-er was not sure where the young master wanted to see the doctor. If he wanted to go to the hot spring, there was no need to bring them to the main courtyard. Yu Ya-er went to ask the young master for instructions, and instructed a servant to bring some snacks and tea from the kitchen to serve Gu Jiao and the other two. This treatment was much better than the previous time. The second boss tasted a mouthful of the rose cake and smiled from ear to ear. Is it really that good? Gu Jiao asked. The second boss smiled and said, the things in the Marquis estate are expensive not because they are delicious, but because you can't eat them. He wasn't eating snacks, but glory. Woo, woo. While they were waiting, the sound of something crying came from the small garden. All three of them heard it. The old doctor followed the sound and asked in puzzlement, what's that sound? The second boss stopped eating and listened attentively, but he didn't hear anything. I'll go take a look, Gu Jiao said. Don't. The second boss wanted to stop her, but was Gu Jiao someone who could be stopped so easily? She got up and went down the steps to the little garden. She followed the sound and soon found the little thing trapped under the fence. It was a little puppy that had just been born. It was unknown how it got stuck in the fence, and there was a circle of thorns under the fence. The result was that the more it struggled, the more the thorns pierced into its flesh. It was in so much pain that its eyes were filled with tears. When it saw someone come, it didn't know if it was frightened or excited. It stuck out its little tongue, but it didn't expect to lick the thorns, causing it to whimper in pain. It really is a stupid little puppy. Gu Jiao squatted down and rubbed its furry little head. Don't move. The little puppy didn't understand, but it still moved. It was in so much pain. In order to save it, she had to first move the fence, and then pull out the thorns from the little puppy's body one by one. Gu Jiao chose the best position and began to pull the fence. At this time, a servant girl wearing an apricot-colored vest came over. Who is it? Stop right now. Gu Jiao didn't stop. Gu Jiao had a small basket on her back and was dressed like a village girl. The servant girl only felt that this dress was familiar, but did not think much of it. She strode over and grabbed Gu Jiao's small basket. I told you to stop, didn't you hear me? Gu Jiao calmly turned her head. Her cold gaze was like a knife, scaring the servant girl into letting go. Then, the servant girl recognized her. It's you? Gu Jiao also recognized her. It was the servant who had rummaged through her pouch at Rejuvenation Hall and slandered her as a thief. She was Gu Jinyu's trusted aide called Yu Ru. Why are you here? Yu Ru frowned. She remembered that she had heard that the doctor from Rejuvenation Hall had come to examine the young master. Her face darkened. You're just a little medicine boy. You don't have to follow me every time. Gu Jiao was too lazy to pay attention to her and moved to pull the fence. Yu Ru scolded. What are you doing? That place is filled with young Miss Flowers. Are you worthy of ruining it? Woo, woo. The puppy cried out in pain. Yu Ru glanced at it and sneered. Just because of a mutt? Your dog? Sure enough, like person, like dog. Do you know how much one peony here costs? I'm selling you and your dog. Noisy. Gu Jiao frowned in annoyance and pulled the fence up. Yu Ru's expression changed and she pounced at her. Actually, when Gu Jiao pulled the fence up, she had avoided the peonies. However, when Yu Ru pounced on the fence, the end of the fence swept and broke one of the peonies. That was the one that bloomed the most beautifully. Yu Ru's face turned pale. She suddenly retreated a few steps, far away from the scene. She covered her mouth with one hand and pointed at Gu Jiao with the other. You broke young Miss Flowers. You broke it yourself. You're blaming me. It was Yu Yaer's voice. She came back after reporting to Gu Yan. Gu Yan told her to bring her to the hot springs. She happened to see this scene. Shameless. Yu Yaer said. Yu Ru was Gu Jinyu's personal maid. Not many people in the villa dared to speak to her like this. Yu Ru's face darkened. She broke it. She pulled the fence up. If you don't believe me, ask them. They all saw it. Unknowingly, a few servants had gathered around to watch the show. Yu Ru asked them to testify. Yu Yaer put her hands on her hips and said, All right, tell me. Who broke it? Everyone lowered their heads. Yu Ru's backer was Gu Jinyu. It was not worth offending her for a little medicine boy. It was not that Gu Yan was not scary, but Yu Yaer's attitude was not instructed by Gu Yan, who did not know that the young master hated these cats and dogs. Yu Ru sneered, see? She's the one who broke it. Gu Jiao, who was pointed at by Yu Ru, did not care about the noise around her. She removed the thorns on the puppy's body and wrapped it in a clean handkerchief. The handkerchief was soon dyed red by the puppy's blood. Woo woo. The puppy was in so much pain that it teared up. The second boss and senior servant Fang arrived at the same time. Senior servant Fang still remembered Gu Jiao climbing into the bed. She did not have a good impression of Gu Jiao, especially when she saw the bloody puppy in her hands. She became even more impatient. Why aren't you throwing it out? These words were not only directed at Gu Jiao, but also at the second boss. The second boss knew that Gu Jiao would not throw it out. Give it to me. I'll put it in the carriage. The second boss reached out to take the puppy. However, Gu Jiao did not give it to him. The second boss face-bombed. The little girl was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. Couldn't she talk nicely? Did she have to be fierce to her? He was done for. Senior Servant Fong said coldly, "I'll say it again. Throw this little beast out. Otherwise, she will also get out." "Who are you telling to get out?" Accompanied by an indifferent voice, Guyan's sedan was carried over by the servants. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that you can't find online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/115817904. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 82. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Young Master, Nanny Fong, and everyone hurriedly bowed to Guyan. The second master also cupped his hands and bowed. The social hierarchy in Zhao country was strict. As a businessman, the second master naturally had to bow when he saw the Marquis' son. Gu Jiao was no exception, but she didn't have the habit of bowing to others. She stared fixedly at Guyan. When everyone knelt down, she stood out like a crane among chickens, making it impossible for people not to notice her. The second master subtly pulled on her sleeve and motioned for her to bow. Although they were here to treat the young master, they couldn't be rude to him, right? Gu Yan acted as if he didn't see it. He didn't greet Gu Jiao, nor did he force Gu Jiao to bow. He looked at Nanny Fong. "Do you want me to ask again?" Nanny Fong was so shocked that she forgot to answer. Now that she came back to her senses, she told Gu Yan about Gu Jiao holding the puppy and refusing to throw it out. As for Gu Jiao ruining the peony flowers, she didn't mention it. After all, she didn't see it with her own eyes, so it wasn't her place to say it. Everyone in the residence knew that Gu Yan hated these little things the most. He thought they were noisy. Not long ago, Gu Yan had a rabbit that didn't bark, but it was forcefully thrown out by Gu Jinyu. This girl really hit the knife's edge. She probably didn't even know how she died. Sure enough, when Gu Yan's gaze fell on the bloody puppy in Gu Jiao's arms, his aura suddenly turned cold. Nanny Fong snorted coldly. "I told you to throw it out, but you didn't. Did it fall into the young master's hands?" "Where did the dog come from?" Gu Yan asked. "I picked it up." Gu Jiao said it was stuck in the fence and stabbed by thorns. Gu Yan glanced at the fence. The fence that Gu Jiao had picked up had been put back in place, but traces of movement could still be seen on the refurbished soil. Yuru glanced at the broken peony flower. Her mind moved and she said, "She also broke young Miss Peony Flower. Just for this dog." Yuya spat. "You're the one who broke it." "It's her." Yuru coldly pointed at Gu Jiao. "It's you." Yuya placed her hands on her hips. Gu Yan's face became extremely cold. Anyone could see that he was angry. He had a heart disease, so he couldn't get angry easily. Otherwise, he would get sick. Otherwise, Master and Marchioness wouldn't spoil him so much. They even gave him such an expensive antique painting, even though they knew that he was tearing it to vent his anger. "Both of you, shut up," Nanny Fong sternly shouted. The two maidservants instantly fell silent. Gu Yan glanced at everyone present and then looked at Gu Jiao, who was among the flowers. "You all saw that she did it, right?" This was the tone of a punitive expedition, so everyone lowered their heads in tacit agreement. "No, it's not her." Yuya was a little frightened by Gu Yan's aura, so her voice also weakened. Gu Yan lightly said, "They all said that she did it. You're the only one who said that it wasn't her." "It's not her." Yuya muttered in a low voice. Yuru proudly hooked up the corners of her mouth. No matter what, the young miss was the young master's older sister. How could the young master not believe her personal maidservant and believe a wild girl from outside? As for this she was only a third-rank maidservant in the young master's courtyard. She didn't even have the qualifications to serve the young master. Her words naturally didn't have much weight. "Very good." Gu Yan nodded. "What's your name?" Yuya was stunned. "Mimi?" "Yuya." Gu Yan said, "Other than Doya, drive everyone out of the mountain villa for this young master." "It's Yuya." "No, drive him out of the mountain villa?" "It wasn't her?" Yuya was stunned. Everyone's expression changed at the same time. Why didn't the young master punish Yuya and the little medicine boy, but drive them out instead? The only one who had a normal expression was Gu Jiao. From beginning to end, there wasn't the slightest change in her expression. She only focused on comforting the injured little puppy. Yuru pounced over in disbelief. "Young master, you're my ass." Two hidden guards quickly appeared and pressed down on her with one finger. They threw her and all the servants who tried to slander Gu Jiao out. The guards who were about to step forward to carry out the order were a little dumbfounded. Where did these two guys come from? Are they trying to steal our jobs in broad daylight? The hidden guards in black thought, you guys don't know anything about our little sweetheart. How could we give you guys such a good opportunity to curry favor with him? In the end, only Senior Servant Fang was left. She was Madame Yao's concubine, so the mountain villa's guards definitely wouldn't dare to touch her. However, the hidden guards didn't say anything and dragged her out. Senior Servant Fang shouted, "Let me go. I want to see the madam. I want to see the madam." Whoosh. A hidden guard hit her mute acupoint, and she instantly couldn't make a sound. The guards all gave them a thumbs up. "You guys even dared to touch Senior Servant Fang. You guys are awesome." After the hidden guards in black finished doing this, they immediately disappeared into the darkness. When the young master needed them, they were hidden weapons. When the young master didn't need them, they were air. The second master's mouth was wide open and couldn't close for a long time. Gu Yan had someone put down the palanquin. He walked down to Gu Jiao and gently smiled. "How was it? Did it relieve your anger?" The second master thought, "Wait, what's going on? You threw so many people out just to relieve the little ass's anger?" Gu Jiao seriously thought about it and nodded. "It relieved my anger." Gu Yan's smile became even wider. He was born handsome, so when he smiled, even the spring scenery in the garden was overshadowed. "It lost a lot of blood. Is it seriously injured?" Gu Yan looked at the little puppy in her arms and asked, "Yes, I need to find a place to stop the bleeding. You can come to my courtyard." Gu Yan brought Gu Jiao back to his room. "Doya, bring a clean mattress over." "It's Yuya." Yuya put her hands on her hips and roared in her heart. Yuya took the small mattress to Gu Yan's room with a dark face and spread it on Gu Yan's desk. Gu Jiao cleaned the little puppy's wounds with iodophor and applied some self-made ointment. She also wrapped some gauze around some places. "Do you have goat's milk?" she asked. "Yes, Doya." Gu Yan asked Yuya to bring a bowl of fresh goat's milk. The little puppy licked its lips and drank it. After drinking it, it fell asleep. During the whole process, Gu Yan didn't disturb Gu Jiao. He sat cross-legged on the bed and focused on playing with Gu Jiao's stethoscope. He hung the stethoscope on his ear and lowered his head. He listened to his heart and his stomach. Wow, it's so loud. The world-weary and disagreeable young Master Gu had finally become a curious baby. The old doctor routinely checked Gu Yan's pulse. Gu Yan was very cooperative with the old doctor. His attitude was so good that the old doctor was flattered. Gu Yan's pulse also surprised the old doctor. Of course, there was still a lot of difference compared to a normal person, but compared to his past, it was a great improvement. Digression, it will be published tomorrow. The update will be at noon. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet can be found here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964226/115785229. HTML Genius. Memorize the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhhbqg.com. You're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.